those years as a superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, Parasitic Killing. Lee Ji and his team temporarily let go of Iron Fist and White Tiger, let them communicate properly, and left their contact information. After that, when they hurried back to the base, they saw Peter Parker tied to the ground by a large bundle of spider silk. The entire base was covered with spider webs, and many huge spider webs were sprayed on the walls and equipment. Many things were tied together, and some equipment was damaged by the huge pulling force of the spider webs. Fortunately, the spider webs that Peter studied are biodegradable. The spider webs will begin to decompose naturally in just 6 hours after being exposed to the air. It will melt into liquid within 10 hours, which is why Spider-Man hangs webs all over New York and the New York City Department of Health does not trouble him. There is a huge spider web in the base that is tightly tying Peter Parker. His facial muscles are obviously twisted and hideous, and even through the mask, you can feel the bulging of muscles. Lee Ji thought of the scene when Peter was at the vampire's blood farm that day, which was almost exactly the same as now. The same violent and irrational. Lee Ji knew Peter Parker's character very well. He was never a violent person. Even when dealing with criminals, he would just catch them with spider webs most of the time. That time at the blood farm, Lee Ji thought that Peter was just stimulated by an accident, which made Peter kill vampires in a cruel way. But now it seems that the incident is not that simple, especially after seeing the invisible monster and the evil power of Norman Osborn last time. Lee Ji realized that the world of Marvel is not as simple as the big movies he saw in his previous life. In the movies, Thor was just an alien flying around with a hammer. In this world, maybe there really are gods in hell. What's wrong with Spider-Man? Lee Ji walked into the base and asked Zheng Chu, who was still a little frightened. I don't know. I have been looking for the suspicious ninja you mentioned through the surveillance in New York, and Spider-Man has been doing experiments in the laboratory. Zheng Chu said after calming down. But for some reason, he suddenly went crazy. He started smashing things in the lab. I heard the sound and wanted to stop him, but he asked me to leave, and then he lost control. 2 devices were completely destroyed by Spider-Man. Who stopped Spider-Man? Lee Ji didn't think Zheng Chu had the ability to control Spider-Man. It was me. I was reading comics online. Mindy said, holding a specially made gun in her hand. This is specially used to launch spider webs. Peter recently developed it to capture large-scale criminals or directly control cars running around in the city. Because the caliber of the launch and the amount of spider silk sprayed are increased, the spider web can be launched very large and very strong. The fat guy was scared at the time, so I had to stop Spider-Man. Mindy raised the gun in her hand and said, indicating that everything in the base was done by her. Huh? You can catch Spider-Man. Peter has spider sense. Lee Ji doesn't think Mindy can control him so easily, even with a spider web gun. Spider-Man's sanity has not completely lost. He seems to be trying his best to control himself. He didn't deliberately dodge the spider web I launched, so I was able to catch him like this. Mindy explained the cause and effect of the matter. So what are you going to do, Nightcrawler? Frank looked at Spider-Man, who is wrapped like a dumpling, and asked. Well, I roughly know what to do. Just like last time at the blood farm, Lee Ji used the internal energy of the Great Sun Tathagata seal to transfer the energy into Peter's body. The neutral and peaceful energy wandered in Peter's body. Lee Ji felt a violent power in Peter's body through the feedback of the internal energy. This power was full of wildness and killing desire, which surprised Lee Ji. He increased the output of the internal energy, and the internal energy of the Great Sun Tathagata seal was fighting against this violent power in Peter's body. A stream of black shadows emerged from Peter's body. Lee Ji could feel the crazy howling accompanied by these black energies through the energy of the spirit. They were like whispering in your ear, whispering softly, tempting you to destroy and kill. Break. Using the stopping thought of the 10-dwelling Mahayana merit, Lee Ji's roar was like spring thunder, instantly covering up all the whispers. The rolling spring thunder shocked the black energy that was originally ready to move, and the internal energy of the Great Sun Tathagata seal swept away all the black energy like a dead tree and rotten wood. At this time, Peter, who had been struggling, finally calmed down. What's wrong with Spider-Man? Damon and Mindy asked with some concern. Especially Mindy, She has a very good relationship with Spider-Man. Peter's personality itself belongs to a child who never grows up. When communicating with Mindy, there is no sense of alienation between adults. The two have always had common hobbies, such as reading superhero comics and playing games. It can be said that among all the people in the team, except Lee Ji, Mindy has the best relationship with Peter. Yes, what happened to Spider-Man? Frank's expression was very serious. Lee Ji had to tell everything that happened at the blood farm that day. Is it war trauma sequelae or killing sequelae? Frank touched his chin uncertainly. He had seen many people who were out of control in the Vietnam War. They all lost their minds after killing too much? Sometimes they look normal, but everything is hidden under the surface. It only takes a little fuse to explode. No, it's not. Lee Ji was sure that it would not be that simple. Spider-Man has a strange energy in his body that he didn't have before. It is a kind of primitive killing power. I can be sure that this power is parasitic in his body from outside. Until he went to the blood farm, Spider-Man didn't have this kind of problem. The blood farm is drawing blood from people, and those ninjas are also drawing blood from people. Do you think there is a connection between them? Zheng Chu made a bold assumption. It's not impossible. If someone among the vampires is colluding with the Hand and the Society, after all, these two forces are not good people. Li Ji somewhat agreed with this speculation. Well, if your assumption is true, we need to know. What are the Hand and the Society going to do by drawing blood? Is the strange energy in Spider-Man's body that you mentioned related to them? Damon, a retired police officer, began to analyze using his career experience. Just like solving a case, things that may seem unrelated often have a deep connection. Iron Fist just mentioned three key names: the Hand, Snakeroot and Black Sky. We know that the Hand is an organization, and Snakeroot sounds more like a plant or the family name of RB, and Black Sky should be a code name. They once slaughtered civilians in China and drew blood, and this was to find Black Sky. Now they are doing the same thing in New York. Does it also mean that Black Sky appeared in New York? Damon's speculation was bold and leaping, but it was not impossible. Li Ji speculated according to Damon's thoughts. If there are really all kinds of strange powers in this world, then could this Black Sky be some kind of strange entity, such as a god, a demon or some strange instrument? Lunka, who joined the vampire blood farm, has colluded with a Hand, so does it mean that the blood drawn by Lunka is also serving the Hand? And could the strange energy in Spider-Man be contaminated at this time? Damon nodded to indicate his approval of this inference. Then we should find the attack and meeting, pull those guys out, and ask them what's going on. Frank's tone was cold. Yes, I don't want Spider-Man to become an irrational killing tool. Mike glanced at Spider-Man and said, Guys, thank you for your concern for my problem, but can you let me out first? I'm trapped and it's a bit difficult to breathe. Peter's consciousness has fully recovered, and he said with some effort, Okay, brother, I think you need to have a good rest. Li Ji untied Peter, helped him up and prepared to send him to the lounge to have a good rest. Well, Nightwalker has one more thing, I'll tell you. Zheng Chu suddenly said. Remember the guy in the green one-piece diving suit? He's standing outside the convenience store where you rescued him last time. There's a sign hanging on it, saying I hope to see you and get your help. Do you want to go see him? No, I'm not in the mood to play superhero role-playing games with him now. Li Ji waved his hand. He was in a mess now and had no time to care about the extra kick-ass. Okay. Zheng Chu shrugged. He knew that no one would be willing to deal with kick-ass in this situation today. Peter was put on the bed in the lounge to have a good rest. It was a burden on his body when he just lost his mind. Not physically, but spiritually, which made Peter feel exhausted physically and mentally. Everyone told Spider-Man to have a good rest. Li Ji was finally ready to leave the lounge to let Peter have a good rest. But when he was about to leave, Peter stopped him. Nightwalker, can we talk? Just the two of us. Li Ji was a little surprised, but he still locked the door of the lounge to prevent others from coming in. It's still in my body, I can feel it. It whispered in my ear, it wants me to kill people. Peter's voice was so low that Li Ji had to put his ear close to him to hear what he said. Li Ji looked at Peter in shock. He just felt that he had dispelled all the black energy, but it was still in Peter's body? Exclamation mark. Chapter 127, Quarrel Within the Team. I'm testing Harry's blood today. Peter talked about what happened tonight. You know, Norman mentioned me. In his information, I'm the key to solving their family disease. So I'm using my blood to check if there's anything missing in Harry's genes that I happen to have. Peter said a little painfully. I checked my blood and my cells are becoming diseased. What? Luigi was completely confused now. What the hell was going on? There is a virus or an evil symbiont that replicates rapidly in my body. I can't find any way to control it. They look harmless, but I just lost control. Peter lowered his head. They are affecting my spirit, and my thinking will be controlled by them. They are not simple viruses. You just defeated them, and they hid. I don't know when they will appear again and affect me again. Luigi knew that the things in Peter's body might not be explained by science. He could use the Great Syntafigata seal to eliminate them, or temporarily suppress them. But this was only a temporary solution, not a permanent one. Luigi tried to use energy to explore Peter's body again, but found nothing. He couldn't find the symbiotes. If Peter said they were hiding, then it was possible, because Peter's spider sense was never wrong. Relax, Spider-Man. I will help you. I can defeat it twice by defeating it once, and we may need help from others. Luigi comforted Peter. In the days that followed, Luigi spent some time every day to explore Peter's body with his internal energy, and immediately defeated it once he found any signs of the dark energy. But it didn't work, because no matter how many times he defeated it, it would appear again, and it would entangle in Peter's body. Peter no longer dared to sleep at home. He was afraid that he would be controlled while sleeping. The desire to kill might make him kill the two most important relatives in the world. He could only come to the base secretly every night and fall asleep under the supervision of his companions. Peter's spirit was about to collapse. He also had a big fight with Gwen, and he was already a little hysterical. Even if he is not driven crazy by the virus, he will be driven crazy by himself. Frank's summary made sense. We can't expect him to do the research alone. I'll go find Blade and ask Janelyn to help. She's an outstanding hematologist. Okay, Frank. I think what you said makes sense. Luigi felt uneasy as he looked at Peter's somewhat frantic back in the laboratory. The last cooperation with Blade left a friendship for everyone, and Janelyn is now officially Blade's girlfriend. The number of vampires is gradually decreasing, and the government has begun to force injections of purification serum in secret. The Vampire Race Special Management Act has not yet been publicly announced, perhaps waiting for the most appropriate time. As a vampire hunter, Blade now has a much more leisurely life. Vampires no longer dare to swagger on the streets. It has even become difficult for him to catch a vampire, so he and Whist really started to run a car repair shop. When Luigi brought Peter to ask for help, Blade readily found Janelyn. The situation is more complicated than you think, Spider-Man. Janelyn's attainments in hematology and genetics are much higher than Peter's, otherwise she would not have been able to research the purification serum. This is not a simple disease or virus. Do you know where I saw a similar situation last time? Peter shook his head at Jane's question. It's in vampires. They have a special virus. That virus also hides energy. If it weren't for the special substance in Mike's blood that can neutralize this virus and energy, I wouldn't be able to research the purification serum at all. So do you have a clue? Luigi still asked with hope. To be honest, the virus in the vampire's body is simply a small witch compared to yours. It's not at the same level at all. Jane's brows were condensed into shape. I need to do more experiments. Spider-Man, I'm afraid you will have to cooperate with me during this period of time. Okay, Ms. Jane. As long as you need it. Peter's tone is no longer as happy as before. Now Luigi is no longer in the mood to care about the chaos in New York City. All his energy is now spent on finding a hand and meeting to solve Peter's physical problems. Because the purpose of his initial acquisition of power was to protect his family and friends. Of course, it is best to help others within the scope of one's ability. In order to study Peter's problem, Zon Kalin has been very hard during this period, but studying these topics is the hobby of this female scientist. As the team leader of the Purification Serum Project, she also has a high status in the Osborn Group and is the company's leading expert in genetics and hematology. She has her own separate laboratory and office, and has the right to use various instruments in the Osborn Group alone. Compared with the equipment in Luigi's base, it is obvious that the Osborn Group laboratory, which is unique in the world in genetics and biotechnology, has more advantages. Zon Kalin works overtime every night to study and find ways to solve Peter's problem. Ms. Zon Kalin, do you have any new topics recently? It was another night when Zon Kalin was studying until late at night. When she was about to go home at the door of the building, she ran into Norman Osborn, the boss of the group. I'm trying to study the variants of the purification serum. I hope to find the code for their longevity from the blood of vampires. Zon Kalen said the words she had prepared long ago. At the same time, she recalled that she had not left anything behind in the laboratory these days, nor had she revealed any flaws. And it was indeed covered up with the research on vampires. After making sure that there were no flaws in everything, Zon Kalen continued. I think this will be a great opportunity, as long as it can succeed. Your research is very valuable. Write a formal application tomorrow and I will provide you with a full set of completely confidential laboratories to prevent any research from being leaked. Norman said with a smile, just like an investor who respects science as usual. Thank you, Mr. Norman. I will submit the report. Zon Kalen said goodbye politely and left Osborn building in a hurry. Haven't you found the information about those ninjas yet? Li Ji's tone was very anxious. He now thought that all the keys might be in his hands and body. He has been urging Zheng Chu these days, which put a lot of pressure on the little fat man. Really, I'm really sorry, Nightwalker. All the surveillance is working. I entered all the characteristics of the ninjas, but except for false alarms, we didn't get any useful information. Zheng Chu didn't dare to turn around and look at Li Ji, but only stared at the computer. QNMD. Li Ji cursed Zheng Chu. Harry's problem was not solved, and now Peter had another problem. He was already very annoyed. Bang! A strong iron rod hit Li Ji's abdomen fiercely. The iron rod's force was very scientific. When the force was gathered to the maximum, it hit Li Ji's body with a minimum contact point. This was a special secondary adamantium alloy, which was very hard. The feeling of being hit by this iron kind was even more painful than being hit by a bullet. Li Ji was beaten back 2 steps and bent over. I know you are anxious for Spider-Man, but you can't treat your companions in this way. If you have any dissatisfaction, I can fight with you. Frank said, holding the iron rod and pointing at Li Ji's head. The hackers are there to solve the problem, and you keep complaining. If you are really unhappy, go find a few fugitive heavy murderers and twist their heads off for me. Li Ji's anger also came up, and he wanted to fight with Frank. However, the other people in the base reacted very quickly. Everyone inserted themselves between the two to stop the escalation of the conflict. Okay, this is my fault, my fault. Zheng Chu stood in the middle and said. Don't be angry, everyone. Hacker, this is not your fault, but this guy has a problem with his brain. He can't figure out who is the enemy and who is the friend. Frank shouted at Li Ji. Spider-Man is my friend. I can't watch him get into trouble like this, or even die. Li Ji also shouted loudly. This is not a reason for you to speak ill of your teammates. Believe it or not, if you were in my company back then, I would have thrown you against a tree and beaten you up. Frank continued to shout. This is a common way in the army, venting anger in the heart by quarreling or even fighting. This is beneficial to the mood. It is actually much better to vent anger at once than to keep it in your heart and finally explode. Okay, stop it, gentlemen. Damon interrupted their quarrel loudly. Nightwalker, if you really seem bored, I mind if you go out for a walk. The kid named Kick-Ass has been looking for you for many days. Damon pointed to a green figure on the screen. Kick-Ass, wearing a green diving suit, was hanging a sign on his chest that read looking for Nightwalker, I need your help to defend New York City. The ugly diving suit, plus the sign with cursive characters written in colored markers on his chest, made him look like a clown. Yes, Nightwalker, you need to go out for a walk. Mindy also thought this was a good idea. You can go find this guy, then laugh at him, and finally buy a pancake to eat, maybe you will feel much better. Li Ji finally left the base temporarily under the persuasion of everyone. He felt a little better in the cool breeze of New York City at night. When he came to the door of the convenience store where Kick-Ass was, the little guy was already shivering with cold. It was already November, and the nights in New York City were already cold. Do you want me to treat you to pancakes again? Li Ji pointed to the sign on Kick-Ass' chest and said. I can treat you to 2 pieces today. No, Mr. Nightwalker. Kick-Ass has been waiting at the place where he once met Nightwalker these days. Finally, he has waited for the person he wants to meet. He doesn't want to eat any damn pancakes. He saw Li Ji and whispered in a very low voice. It's about ninjas. An evil organization called the Hand and the Society. They have a secret plan. I know you have been protecting New York. I need your help. Kick-ass David looked at Li Ji, who seemed to have no reaction, and said in a very serious and pleading tone, "What I said is true. I am not deceiving you. There really is such an organization. I know, and I believe you, but there is only one question. How do you know about the Hand and the Society?" Li Ji's tone was more serious than ever before. Thanks to book friends, Jiji Pagoda Palace Master Fear Beyond Zero Moment Shine Feng Lian Monster War and other book friends for their rewards. Thank you very much. Chapter 128 Team name confirmed and release date announced. Well, Night Watchmen overwhelm all others, and fans of Ice and Fire occupy Marvel. By the way, let me mention the release date. This book will be officially released on the 1st of next month. I hope you will continue to support this book after it is released. The author would like to express his strong gratitude. And then ask for recommendation votes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Shocking News. Kick-ass David took Li Ji to the entrance of a courtyard and told him that all his questions could be answered here. This kind of courtyard is rarely seen in New York City. It is very oriental in style, with gravel pavement and Japanese sliding paper doors. Including the cherry trees in the courtyard, they are not something that can be seen everywhere in New York. My master has been looking for you. David was leading Li Ji. Your master? Li Ji asked curiously. Yes, I met my master on the way home after seeing you that day. David said excitedly. He said he could teach me to be a superhero. Huh? Li Ji was a little surprised. Don't disbelieve it, my master is called Gunso, and he is a very powerful person. Kick-ass looked at Li Ji and seemed to be a little unbelieving, so he said. In an ancient Japanese room, Li Ji met the old man David called Master. He looked quite old. But he was very energetic. Wearing sunglasses and a blind man's cane beside him reminded Li Ji that the old man was blind. But this did not make Li Ji despise him at all. The old man with the stick was kneeling there simply, but he looked like an ancient pine tree, with a sense of tenacity and strength. It was as if the pine trees seen on the cliffs of Huangshan in the previous life grew between the cliffs and were still tenacious and unyielding despite the baptism of mountain wind, rain and snow. Welcome, please sit down, Night Walker. When David pushed open the sliding door, the old man with the stick knew who was coming. Sometimes the blind can see more than people with sharp eyes. Out of basic courtesy to the old man, and judging from the furnishings, the old man with the stick should be deeply influenced by Oriental culture. Li Ji bowed slightly to show courtesy. The old man with the stick, who was obviously blind, sat up straight and bowed in return. Hello, old man. At the signal of the old man with the stick, Li Ji sat cross-legged on the tatami on the side. According to what David said, you know a lot about hands and meetings. May I ask if you know what root grass snakes and black spaces are? Li Ji's question was a little urgent. You are not calm, Night Walker. I can hear that you are anxious. The old man with the stick did not rush to answer Li Ji's question. This mood is not conducive to our conversation. Do you like tea? The old man with the stick asked. I'll ask David to bring some tea. It's okay, but I don't like Japanese matcha very much. Li Ji looked at the house that was all Japanese style and said, I'll ask David to bring some Chinese green tea. The old man with the stick nodded and said, David, go and bring some tea, and then ask Matt to come over. David left here in compliance, and went to serve tea and call the person named Matt according to the old man's request. The old man with the stick sat there quietly, without making any sound. The whole courtyard was very quiet, as if the hustle and bustle of New York was isolated. There was only the sound of gurgling water in the courtyard and the rustling sound of the night wind blowing through the leaves. This kind of silence made Li Ji a little restless, because his heart had not been calm these days, but abnormally irritable, which made him feel that he was out of tune with this place. What are you upset about? The old man seemed to be able to sense Li Ji's annoyance. Many things, unknown monsters, ninjas in New York City, my friend's strange illness, and all kinds of messed up things. Li Ji was indeed very upset. You are a practitioner. The old man said without thinking. What? Li Ji didn't react for a moment. You are a practitioner, I can feel it. Because I am also a practitioner. The old man said softly. Practitioners practice to comprehend the source of power in this world, And in this way they break through the limits of the human body and explore the mysteries of life and power. But unfortunately, when I was young, I was competitive and impatient. Because I have no vision, I hope to have power that normal people don't have. I went astray and once lost this power. Even now I dare not teach my disciples any real secrets of practice. Because I am afraid that they will be like me back then. You are very similar to me now. Your mind is unstable and you don't have enough will. You are easily affected by external things. You fight with the underground dark forces in New York City all day long. You have killed many people, and even many non-human creatures. All of this will secretly erode your mind, and you don't notice it. Power is not eternal. It changes with your changes. They can be violent or gentle, but if your mind cannot control it, then you will become a slave to power. The words of the old man with a stick made Li Ji feel like being struck by lightning. He had never thought about these problems, but he was impatient and even took his anger out on others. These things were not his character before. In the past, even if he was really angry with someone, he would suppress it in his heart and would not simply and rudely vent it with violent language. Is he getting more and more angry now? Li Ji asked himself. Yes. Just as he felt before, the system only gave strength and how to use it, but never taught any principles. It didn't even point out whether the exercise has had any effect on people. Is all this really good? For the first time, Li Ji had doubts in his heart. Master, tea is here. When David came to this room again, he was holding a tray with a set of tea sets in his hand. And the person following him, Li Ji felt inexplicably familiar, with a dark red leather jacket and two slightly protruding devil horns on his mask. This person named Matt seemed to have seen him somewhere. It was not until David brought the tea to him that he suddenly remembered who this person was. He seemed to have seen this person's movie in his previous life. If I remember correctly, his name is Daredevil or Daredevil, and he is also called the Fearless Man. He is a respected lawyer during the day and a law enforcer in the dark at night. He is merciless and kills all criminals. He is a guy comparable to the Punisher, or even more fierce than the Punisher. Master. Daredevil bowed slightly to the old man with a stick, and then sat down on his knees. And Kick-Ass David sat at the end. It turns out that this old man with a stick is Daredevil's master. This Kick-Ass is actually Daredevil's junior brother. This world is in chaos. Li Ji had to drink a cup of hot tea immediately to calm down. The hot steam of green tea was lingering on the rim of the coarse porcelain cup, and the light tea fragrance and golden tea color complemented each other. It was slightly bitter at first, but it was slightly sweet when you took a deep breath. The warm tea warmed Li Ji's heart and lungs along the throat and esophagus. In an instant, Li Ji felt that his originally agitated mood was calmed down. This is a specialty of the Pure Society. The old man with the stick seemed to know Li Ji's surprise and said, I think we can have a good conversation in your current state, Nightwalker. Yes, I feel much better now. Li Ji took a deep breath and said, the Hand and Peace Society was born in the East more than 800 years ago. They were originally just farmers who formed a self-protection alliance in the turbulent times and some samurai who lost their identities. The old man with the stick took a sip of tea and began to speak. After that, the East experienced a lot of unrest, and these samurai began to train peasants to learn some fighting skills. During the Warring States period in the East, a monarch appeared in the East, and he was committed to unifying the chaotic East. Anyone who disobeys his management will be killed by him, whether it is a monk or a ninja. The castle of the Kogan ninja in the East was breached by him, and the ninjas fled everywhere. The Hand and the Society took in some of the ninjas. These ninjas brought more secret techniques, which are the secret teachings of Koga. Everyone was very happy, which gave everyone the ability to protect themselves in troubled times. However, this world has never lacked ambitious people. A samurai betrayed the doctrine of the Hand and the Society, and he began to believe in the evil beasts rumored in the secret techniques. The Hand and the Society began to split, and under the leadership of this person it became the current Hand and the Society, and they became the Rootgrass Snake Clan. They believe in evil gods, and they can use the lives of living people as sacrifices to resurrect the dead. Li Ji is a little surprised now. Resurrection of the dead? Is this really a joke? If there really is such a secret technique, then believing in the so-called evil god is completely understandable. Because in the eyes of ordinary people, the resurrection of the dead is a miracle. The old man with the stick seemed to know what Li Ji was thinking, and he continued. But everything has a price, and resurrection is not a simple matter. Every resurrection will tear a piece of your soul, and your empty soul will be filled by the beast. If you keep resurrecting, your soul will be constantly torn apart. In the end, will your soul still be you? Or is the living person still you? The old man with the stick's tone was very empty, but it made people sweat. And the other faction of the hand and the society, they don't agree with all this. Bloody and meaningless killing, death is an inevitable thing in life, and any attempt to escape death will eventually be punished by death. They split into another faction, called the Pure Innocence Society. And I am the leader of the Pure Innocence Society now. The old man with the stick said lightly, and turned his head to Li Ji's side. I hope you can help us, Nightcrawler. You are a powerful practitioner. With you in the battle, we will be more confident in the war against the hand and the society. Excuse me, please let me ask why first, or what do the hand and the society want to do now? The old man with the stick just told a story, but he didn't say the key part. Li Ji had some doubts. Because the hand and the society are preparing to revive the beasts, Black Sky has already appeared in New York. The one who spoke was Daredevil, and his tone was much more intense than the old man with the stick. Black Sky is the carrier of the beast. Once the beast is resurrected, it will cause chaos in New York and even the entire United States. It feeds on fear and chaos. It enjoys blood and killing. All of this is the source of its power, and its existence will accelerate the expansion of these desires in people's hearts. As long as it descends into this world, it can affect people's minds, even if you don't need to get close to it. It can affect you just from a distance. When its power reaches its peak, it will spread chaos and desire for killing to the whole world. What the fuxf? Li Ji felt that this matter was very tricky, because Spider-Man's situation was too similar to what Daredevil said. And the hand and the society have another powerful weapon in their hands. Although they rarely use it, once it is used, there will be few people in this world who can stop him. The tone of the old man with a stick was very solemn. Because that is Ghost Rider, the spokesperson of Hell. So I hope you can help us fight the hand and the society, just like you have been protecting New York. The ninjas of the Innocent Society have suffered heavy casualties. We need your help and your team. Wait, what did I just hear? An evil god who feeds on fear and killing, a group of mysterious ninjas who can be resurrected infinitely, and the Ghost Rider? What happened to all this? Director, is the script you gave me correct? Li Ji was devastated. Chapter 130. Everyone is preparing. This is all the information I have, so what do you think? This was a very formal meeting held in the Nightwalker base, and everyone participated. The agenda was simple, which was what the old man with the stick revealed about the beast and the hand. Whether to join the war would be decided by everyone. From the words of the old man with the stick, we can also know that this so-called hand is not simple, and Li Ji can't make a decision on behalf of everyone. Since this mysterious power is involved, no one knows what the consequences will be. Are you saying that I might be possessed by the beast? Peter's tone was unprecedentedly low, which was not what he wanted. No, I am more inclined to believe that you are now the so-called Black Sky. Li Ji denied Peter's speculation. The blood farm of the vampires is probably related to the hand and the society. They are cultivating beasts or carriers of beasts for the hand and the society. This kind of thing should be invisible, just like the monster that I fought with Iron Fist that day. Maybe you were possessed by an invisible spirit in this situation. According to what the old man with the stick said, if you are really possessed by a beast, then you are not that simple. The power of the beast is terrible. The only way to eliminate the abnormality of your body may be to kill the beast. Li Ji looked at Peter and spoke firmly. If the hand and the society is really a powerful organization, then I am afraid our strength is not enough. Mike said, and he looked around. Except Mindy and Zheng Chu from the logistics, we only have 5 combatants. And, I am sorry for my disrespect to Spider-Man. Mike said. Now Spider-Man can't even be considered a stable combat force, which greatly reduces our combat power. Peter Parker shrugged and said nothing when he heard this, because Mike was telling the truth. The Innocent Society will provide considerable combat power, but we still need to strengthen it. Li Ji did not refute the question Mike asked. Maybe we need more help. Spider-Man, I'm afraid you can't join the battle this time. Li Ji's tone was very firm, and there was a hint of ferocity. The hand was really pissing him off now. A huge and burly figure stood on a building in Hell's Kitchen, Brooklyn. This was Kingpin, who was waiting for his capable men to come back. Everything is done. A beautiful woman flashed behind Kingpin. She was wearing a fiery red ninja outfit, and her long black hair fluttered in the wind. "Don't the people in the hands have any doubts, Erica?" Kingpin asked. "No, they have been completely attracted by the news of Beast in Black Sky." The female ninja named Erica replied. "Boss, are we leaving now?" The man who had been following Kingpin, dressed like a psychopath and with a target drawn on his forehead, came over and said. This was Kingpin's #1 thug, Bullseye. "Let's go, start evacuating New York tonight." Kingpin walked towards the helipad on the top of the building without looking back, where a helicopter was parked. But if the beast really appears? Then New York. Erica hesitated in her words, and her heart did not look as cold as her face. The fools of the innocent society will save the world. They have done it many times. Kingpin got on the helicopter, and the blades of the helicopter began to slowly turn and take off. From this moment on, the affairs of New York had nothing to do with Kingpin, and King did not care about the bright lights of New York below. He opened a locket, which contained his deceased wife and children. When Kingpin was still a gangster in New York, he had nothing. He used his fists and the blood of his enemies to step up to a high position step by step. At that time, there was a woman who followed him, giving him advice and pointing out a way forward for him. With the help of this woman, Kingpin grew up step by step in the underground society. He knew this woman, fell in love with her, married her and had children. Kingpin once withdrew from the underground society because his child was born and he hoped to have a normal family. But everything he experienced was not so easy for him to withdraw. His wife and children were kidnapped by his enemies and then killed. The last glory of his life was gone, leaving only endless darkness. He pushed his enemies into the grinder one by one, pounded them into meat paste, and then fed them to the German shepherd he raised. He looked at the enemies who were scared to pee their pants, and he finally understood that in this world, only being strong can guarantee his good life. "Vanessa, my dream will come true soon, and the day when we meet again is not far away," Kingpin muttered in his heart and closed the locket. The helicopter took Kingpin and his party away from New York. Beautiful genome, it's so beautiful. Norman Osborn was looking at the genome sequence in the device in admiration. The black gene is constantly splitting and recombining, and the original normal genome is being quickly devoured by it. The invisible monster that Li Ji fought with that day was Norman Osborn's, and Norman's life should have come to an end. But he signed a treaty with the demon god of the other dimension, and he used the souls of the Earthlings as sacrifices in exchange for the extension of his life. The demon god gave Norman a kind of power, a power to enhance his own power by devouring the souls of others, which allowed Norman to better serve the demon god. This was the power he had unintentionally radiated after meeting Li Ji that day. Norman gently picked up a photo frame, which was taken when he and Harry went fishing in Canada. "Harry, you will be entrusted with the fate of our family, but I am afraid I must part with you," Norman whispered slowly. In a building owned by the Innocent Society outside Hell's Kitchen in New York, Li Ji was meeting and talking with several guests he had invited. Blade, White Tiger, Iron Fist, and Iron Man. "Okay, I have introduced the situation. It is up to you to decide whether to join this operation." Li Ji's invitation was to increase his certainty. "Wait, are you saying that there is an evil god on this world, and there is a way to resurrect the dead?" Tony's tone was unbelievable. "Are you sure today is not April 1st? You called me here just to expect me to believe your nonsense. I never lie to people, Tony. If you are afraid, you don't need to make excuses, you can just quit." Li Ji's tone was light. "I believe what you said is true." Iron Fist did not question Li Ji's news, because he knew more from Kunlun. "I will join you in this operation. Beasts should not come to this world." Li Ji looked at the White Tiger, who hesitated. "If Iron Fist, you keep your promise, I will also join this operation. If you can prove that you have the courage worthy of the White Tiger amulet, then you can become its master." "I keep my word." Iron Fist answered the White Tiger's question. Blade grinned, with two fangs still there. He had been injected with a purifying serum, but it seemed to have no effect on him. He was half human and half vampire, and his form was very stable. The purifying serum had no effect on him at all. "Repairing cars with whist every day has loosened my bones. Fighting against evil ninjas doesn't sound bad. It's a bit like a ninja movie in the 1980s. Blade joined. Everyone looked at Tony, no one made a sound and waited for his decision. The scene was silent, which made Tony look a little embarrassed. "Don't look at me like that. I have to at least figure out whether it's real or fake." Tony waved his hand. He was now wearing a new set of armor, which was modified based on the Mk2. Iron Fist shook his head and said nothing, but this made Tony a little annoyed. If you can come up with some money, I can call another helper. He is very short of money now. Iron Fist suggested. If the price is not sky high, it's okay. Li Ji agreed. Li Ji was calling for reinforcements here, while everyone at the base was doing equipment maintenance. The Gauss rifle was adjusted to the best condition, the power skeleton was repeatedly adjusted, and the ammunition was being pressed into the magazine. The beast will rule the world, and no one will survive if the grass snakes are eradicated. In a castle in the east, 3 old men looked crazy. Thanks to the book Friends, Unluosi Red Constraint Mechanical Vine JGL9, The Prophet is a Bear Child. Go to your sister's book Friends Yis Wuho and others for their rewards. Thank you very much. Oha, Book Friends Group. 539,763,655 is recruiting people. If you have any valuable opinions and suggestions, you can join the group to interact with the author and exchange ideas. Chapter 131 Uneasy New York. In the Hell's Kitchen area, a building with a very Japanese style stands here, because this modern-looking building has a castle tower similar to a Japanese castle on its roof. The current leader of the Hand and the Society, Yasha Chang Gangson, is sitting in the castle tower. He is a fanatic believer of the beast and a loyal worshipper of the evil god. Below him, 3 old men are kneeling. Their hair and beards are all white, but their eyes are flashing with red light of bloody desire. They are the yin-yang masters of the Hand and the Society, and they master the secret method of bringing the beast to the world. The beast has appeared, but it needs our summons to come to the world. I need the beast. There is a kind of fanaticism in Yasha Chang Gangson's words. Go find He Kong, before the Pure Innocence Society. Use chaos and killing to attract He Kong's arrival, so that we can extract the beast. Under Yasha Chang Gangson's order, the 3 mages silently withdrew from the castle tower. All preparations are ready. On the floor below the castle tower, the magic circle carved with blood covers the entire floor. Written in the ancient language of the East, mixed with a large number of Chinese characters, the talismans written on apricot yellow paper and red cinnabar are arranged in a specific order. The entire floor is divided into 8 formations: birth, injury, rest, endurance, scenery, death, shock, and opening. A considerable part of the traditional secret arts of the East is derived from the secret arts of China, and the magic in the secret transmission of Koga is no exception. Just a glance at these characters and magic formations will make people who do not have enough spiritual cultivation fall into illusions. These days, the Hand and the Society have collected many souls who feel fear in New York. This is the introduction they prepared and the food offered to the beast. In the castle of the Hand and the Society in the east, the other 3 yin-yang masters have also been prepared. The underground palace of the castle was opened layer by layer, and there was a huge cave in the center of the underground palace. The diameter of the cave entrance is more than 50 meters. Looking down, the cave is bottomless. The iron chains covered with talismans are horizontally placed above the cave entrance to form a 12-pointed star formation. Under the mobilization of the 3 yin-yang masters, the iron chains that make up the formation were loosened one by one. When the last chain was loosened, a surge of evil spirit rose from it. The castle itself is also a huge magic array, and this evil spirit is trapped in the castle and cannot leak out. The 3 yin-yang masters in the underground palace and the yin-yang masters in New York began to activate the array at the same time. The magic array in New York and the underground palace in the east began to build an invisible bridge. Is this the headquarters you mentioned? The fully armed Li Ji looked at the building in the distance and asked Daredevil. Yes, it's here. Daredevil Matt. I can feel the breath in here, it's very uncomfortable. Iron Fist's spiritual sense made him feel that something was wrong here. In fact, Li Ji also felt that there was an indescribable sticky feeling in the air here, as if the soul and body would be out of sync. It's not a good idea to start a war here. Luke Cage, the new helper of Iron Fist, looked around. There were many residential buildings nearby. The Innocence Society has tried its best to evacuate the nearby residents, but we can't evacuate everyone. The old man with a stick said helplessly. But it doesn't matter. The land price in Hell's Kitchen has been on the rise for 18 months, so I bought all the houses here. I asked those people to move out yesterday. Tony's behavior was very rich. Maybe I can make a fortune from real estate. Your behavior is very wise. Miss Pepper rarely praises your investment plan. Jarvis was suspected of flattering. Behu couldn't help but whistle, expressing his envy of such rich people's behavior. This way, at least we don't have to worry about accidental injuries, and we can go all out. Frank has adjusted the two Gauss rifles to load. But please be careful not to damage my property at will. Tony emphasized the pronunciation of my property. Originally, Tony was still hesitant about whether to join, until he collected enough information and made his own judgment before deciding to join this battle. It is not a good idea for an evil god to appear in New York. Tony doesn't like this. The breath of evil spirits is beginning to become strong. They look ready to force summon beasts. After the bridge between East Asia and New York was built in an instant, the uncomfortable feeling here became more and more obvious. The readings are abnormal, sir. A new unknown energy field has appeared. Jarvis also brought a report to Tony. The Innocence Society is about to start the attack. Everyone prepare for the battle. As Daredevil spoke, the ninjas of the Innocence Society rushed to the Hand and Society building from all directions. But the Hand and Society were already prepared. They had been fighting the Innocence Society for many years and had long understood what these annoying guys would do. The bugs have appeared. According to the plan, start to create chaos and attract the beasts. Yasha Chang Yangson stood on the roof and had a clear view of the chaos below. Tony. Take me up. Li Ji shouted to Tony. How stupid it would be to fight from the bottom of the building layer by layer. It's not a game of breaking through levels. No need for Nightcrawler. I can easily deal with the guy on the roof. Tony was as arrogant as ever. With a slight increase in the power of the jet, the newly manufactured Mk3 instantly accelerated to a speed of 200 km per hour and flew towards the roof of the building. However, what greeted Tony was not the victory he imagined, but more than 10 anti-aircraft missiles produced by Hammer Military Industry Group. Damn it. They actually deployed missiles in the city. Tony controlled the armor to dodge in the air. Fortunately, he didn't take me up. Li Ji looked at Tony, who was dodging missiles in the sky, and felt relieved. The ninjas of the Innocence Society had suffered heavy losses in the previous battles, and were far inferior to the Hand and Society in terms of numbers and strength. The ninjas of the Hand and Society were better at killing and various secret methods. At least hundreds of ninjas poured out of the building, which was different from those ninjas in comics or old movies who only used ninja swords and shuriken. As modern ninjas in the 21st century, the Hand and Society would not stick to using traditional weapons. The alternating use of cold and hot weapons is the true nature of the real killer group. In the upper floors of the building, Yasha Chang Yangson, who had long been prepared for the arrival of the beast, had already deployed a considerable amount of heavy firepower. He didn't care about turning New York into a battlefield, because his soul had long belonged to the beast, and only killing was his hobby. TMD. They have a Vulcan cannon. Luke Cage, the Wonder Man, is extremely powerful, and his body is strong enough to withstand the attacks of ordinary pistols and submachine guns. But he can't resist the Vulcan cannon. As for the power of the Vulcan cannon, Li Ji had seen it last time on the viaduct. This time, Ji Chang Yangson was more prepared, and the firepower he arranged was even more powerful. The ammunition poured down like rain and fired crazily. Cover them to retreat temporarily. We have to destroy these things. Li Ji roared, wearing a power skeleton and holding a Gauss rifle to fire at the Vulcan cannon in the building. At the same time, Frank, Mike and Damon's Gauss rifles fired and roared at the same time. The firepower of the Gauss rifle is extremely powerful, and the bullets fired after electromagnetic acceleration are constantly ejected from the muzzle with blue electric light. The night sky of New York is no longer calm. There is no way to do any tricks in this battle, and we can only attack by force. Chapter 132, Thunderous Sea. Li Ji was not very clear about the origin of the Gauss rifle, but this shape reminded him of the weapon of the Terran rifleman when he played StarCraft in his previous life. Maybe the system was made for him based on that thing. Super fast firing rate and strong penetration are the characteristics of the Gauss rifle. It uses 8mm caliber bullets, which are not round-head bullets like traditional gunpowder weapons. Instead, it uses a nail-head design with more penetrating power. Because it does not need the primer part of traditional weapons, the bullets of the Gauss rifle are lighter, and more ammunition can be loaded in a magazine. Spider-Man was placed in the base and did not participate in this operation because he was afraid that the environment here would affect him. Let the beast hidden in his body explode. Li Ji only formed a team with Damon, Frank and Mike. As mentioned before, Frank's power armor was modified like Li Ji. Increased defense, and when the opponent's Vulcan cannon began to roar, Frank showed the usefulness of his defensive power armor. The modular defense shield made of secondary adamantium alloy was opened, and the shields were stacked up layer by layer. A semi-enclosed bastion structure was formed. This simple design does not need to be purchased by the system, and Peter does not even need to make it. Frank and Mike designed and manufactured it based on their previous combat experience, and Zheng Chu used a computer to make a simple thing to make it. Like all mechanical structures, the simpler the thing, the higher the reliability. The defense fortress weighing nearly 1 ton was quickly deployed in a few seconds. It provided a fire support point for Li Ji and the other 4. Iron Man, haven't you dealt with those missiles yet? Li Ji's communicator was temporarily connected to Tony's communicator. I want to get rid of them. They can't explode near densely populated areas in the city, otherwise even the flying shrapnel can hurt many people. Tony was controlling the armor to track more than a dozen missiles to fly towards the coast. This is the biggest difference between heroes and criminals. Superheroes will care about the casualties of civilians, while criminals don't care. Everyone take turns firing, and pay attention to maintaining the continuity of firepower. Frank reminded everyone in the bastion. Jijin Gangson has deployed at least 4 20mm Vulcan cannons and 12 7.62mm Gatling machine guns in the building. The deathly metal storm suppressed the innocent and the heroes. In fact, even if Iron Man came, he would avoid such dense firepower first, and then use weapons of mass destruction in other directions. The bastion set up by Frank provided a firepower point for everyone to barely stand. The solidity of the secondary adamantium alloy is quite excellent. At least it was not torn apart by the violent rain of metal bullets. Several people in the bastion fought back with Gauss rifles. In terms of destructive power alone, the electromagnetically fired Gauss rifle bullets are no worse than the 20mm caliber Vulcan cannon. The powerful counterattack of the 4 people bought a breathing time for others. Charge into the building. The one who shouted was Daredevil. He has the physical fitness of the human body, and his eyes were contaminated by radioactive substances in his childhood, which made him blind. But he gained another ability. His ears were like radars, and he could map out real images in his mind based on the feedback of sound waves. Under his leadership, the ninjas of the Pure Innocence Society had a hole in their throats. The energy gathered in the 2 fists of Iron Fist was particularly dazzling at night. The power of the dragon was released by him, and every punch on the body of the ninjas of the Hand and Society had a huge impact. The body structure of the ninjas of the Hand and Society was very special. In a sense, they were all a group of living dead. Because his soul was sacrificed to the evil god. Every attack of Iron Fist would turn these ninjas into a ball of smoke and then dissipate. The Gauss rifle on Li Ji's side had successfully suppressed the firepower upstairs. The blueprints and skills produced by the system after the sea level had been completely upgraded to a higher level. The Gauss rifle was called a rifle, but the firing rate of full-speed shooting was almost the same as that of a high-speed machine gun, and because of the electromagnetic acceleration used, there was almost no recoil. The 4 of them were very accurate in their marksmanship. With this powerful firepower that could be called cheating, they quickly eliminated most of the machine gun positions of the Hand and Society. Only a few positions in the blind spot of the shooting range were left undamaged. Frank, let's charge forward. The loss of the Pure Innocence Society is too great. Li Ji hung the Gauss rifle in the weapon slot outside his armor, pulled out his electric blade and rushed towards the defense line formed by the Hand and Society ninjas. Mike and Damon were left in the bastion as firepower support, and Frank and Li Ji began to attack. The electric blade was adjusted to the state of enhanced cutting. Under the continuous and stable energy output, the cutting force of the electric blade was enhanced by the powerful electric arc. A beautiful blue light flashed on the blade, and the Hand and Society ninjas tried to block this blue light of death with ordinary weapons. Their samurai swords may be very sharp and strong, but under the electric light, they are like butter hitting a hot table knife and are cut off in an instant. But the Hand and Society ninjas are fearless and rush forward one after another. Damn, there are too many of them. Luke Cage, the Wonder Man, was so powerful that he lifted up a 2-ton cart parked on the side of the road and threw it at the ninjas. A large area was cleared in an instant, but the ninjas in the building kept rushing out as if endlessly, and they quickly filled the gap. Some people were already injured because there were too many people, and there were ninjas on both sides. Even Li Ji was chopped or shot many times. But the armor made of secondary adamantium alloy blocked all of this for him, so he was not injured. Get out of my way! Li Ji shouted, and he was already at the front of the entire team and the tip of the knife. He raised the lightning blade. The purple thunder energy instantly covered the blade, and the violent hell dragon appeared again. Spring thunder explosion, the simplest swing of the knife from top to bottom, instantly releasing all the energy in the lightning blade. It was more energy than the last time Li Ji fought against the invisible monster. The huge purple thunder dragon roared out from the blade, turning the river upside down and causing a storm. The magnificent momentum like a huge wave emptied out roared towards the building of the hand and the society. The tiny arcs at the branches of the purple angry thunder could instantly turn a hand and the society ninja into ashes. The huge thunderous sound could be heard even from hundreds of meters away, just like exploding in the ear. Starting from Li Ji, a purple thunderous wave was split within a distance of 70 meters. The floor-to-ceiling windows of the first to third floors of the hand and the society building were shattered by the huge sound waves. The huge lightning not only split the ninjas blocking the front, but also melted many steel structures at the intersection of the first floor of the hand and the society building. The boiling molten iron was flowing slowly on the ground with white light. The ninjas who were originally used like a tide were created a vacuum period by this huge lightning. The most uncomfortable one was Daredevil, whose eardrums were damaged by the huge sound waves, but Li Ji really didn't have time to care about him now. Take out the arc energy module in the electric blade. This module is a military version specially provided by Tony before the war. It has more energy and stronger explosive power. Li Ji had already felt the power of this energy module. He took out the hot energy module and discarded it, and put the new module in. Nightwalker Li Ji decided that no matter who blocked his steps today, he would split the person in two. The beast must die today. Iron Man dealt with a dozen anti-aircraft missiles and began to rush back, but just when he flew to the vicinity of the building, he felt something was wrong. His mind began to be trance, and something confused was impacting his brain. "Sir, your mental fluctuations are abnormal. I will temporarily take over the control of MK3. Jarvis, who had been reading Tony's body information, discovered the abnormality and immediately took over the control. This was the setting made by Tony. After stretching the height to nearly 1,000 meters above the ground, Tony felt recovered. "What is that, Jarvis?" Tony's tone was solemn. "A special energy structure that seems to be able to seriously affect people's thinking." Jarvis replied. "I have recorded the readings. We need to turn on the stand shield to enter this area." The stand shield is a defensive method that Tony has studied based on his energy fluctuations after the last battle with Murity. In fact, it is not only Tony who is affected. In fact, this special energy position, but chaos and killing affect people's thinking. This energy is spreading from the building of the hand and the meeting to the surroundings. Spider-Man Peter Parker and the base seemed to be summoned. He wanted to leave here. He knew that there was a place calling him, and that place was his home. Peter's eyes began to glow blood red, and his muscles began to bulge. "Spider-Man, where are you going? You can't go anywhere now." Mindy discovered Peter's abnormality and shot Peter with a spider gun. Peter's spider sense allowed him to avoid a spider web attack. The last time he was subdued by Mindy was because he still had some sanity. And now he's eager to go back to home. Flashing past Mindy's spider web, Peter left the base in one step and disappeared into the vast night. Chaos, blood, this is the best soul, this is the soul of an evil god. I want this soul, Norman, go find this soul for me. Norman Osborn's contractor, a demon god from another dimension, went crazy. The beast is a high-quality soul, a perfect combination of violence and blood, which is what it desires. But I don't have enough power. You should know how powerful this thing is. Norman's words were still unheard. I can give you more powerful power. Catch it back for me. The voice of the demon screamed. My human body cannot bear your great power. Norman said with regret. As long as you give me 1,000th of your power, I will turn into dust in the universe. Think of a way, human, my patience is limited. The demon has been overwhelmed by the desire of this soul. Please give your power to the objects that can bear it, and I will use those objects to mobilize your power. Norman smiled kindly. Very good, this is a good idea. The demon agreed to this idea. Then please give this armor and this mask your great power. In Norman's private basement, the place with the highest security level in Osborn Manor, a set of green armor was standing there quietly. A huge magical fluctuation spanned the dimension of the universe, rushing with the destruction and heat of the other plane. The black and red magical energy appeared in a huge hexagram array. The terrible breath they exuded was comparable to the most violent eruption of the most violent volcano on Earth. The power of the demon god gushed towards the armor. Accepting the baptism of the demon god, the green armor showed dark patterns of black and red, and the dark green demon mask looked deeper. Go, bring back that violent soul. I will give you a generous reward, Norman Osborn. The demon god promised. As you wish, great master. Norman put on the armor, and the smile that flashed across his face was also covered by the green demon mask. Above New York, on the Shield skycarrier, the old man who made a deal with Deacon Fiss sat casually on the deck. He sat there quietly, but no one could see him. Huh? This power is a demon god from another plane? Ah, and a beast in purgatory. The old man smiled slightly, with sarcasm in his smile. Let's not talk about the stupid beasts for now, but which demon god is so stupid that he dares to let his power appear on Earth so arrogantly? The old man stood up, and his eyes seemed to be able to see New York City directly through the clouds. The Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One is still alive, stupid guy. He still sneered with disdain. But this is good. Death will like these chaos and dead souls. Maybe I should let him continue to make trouble. There was a kind of cruelty in the old man's smile. Are you right, Deacon Fiss? A bat with a blazing flame appeared in his hand. Go, find some fun for these protectors of mankind. The old man waved his hand, and the flaming bat broke free from his palm and flew out. The flaming bat quickly grew in the air and quickly grew into a behemoth of hundreds of meters, like the demon pet in hell in ancient legends. The gray-white skeleton and the blazing fire of hell are his main body. The hatred flashing in his eyes is his soul. He covers the sky and the sun, he comes with anger, he is a walker of hell, and he works for death. In the Himalayas of China, there is a piece of the last pure land on earth, and only extraordinary people can set foot here. This is the holy land of knowledge, this is the garden of magic, and this is the whereabouts of the Supreme Age Ancient One. Ancient One walks in the heavens and the worlds, and Ancient One protects the peace and tranquility of the earth. Ancient One has blocked countless evil demons from other dimensions. As long as Ancient One is still alive, sneaky evil gods from other dimensions will not dream of setting foot on the earth. Book Friends Group 539,763,655 Recruiting Book Friends. Thanks to Book Friends, Yisa Woohoo Ruo Wuziod Reject Illusion Yao Dong Years of Wandering Souls Dion Fen Lian Otaku Apprentice Fatal Wolf Legend Solution Red Dust Stranger Everyday Music 3 Fantasy World Impermanence Eastern God Bubble LMH 12355 Aston Fan and others for their rewards. Thank you very much. Chapter 133 Chaos. The residence of the Supreme Sorcerer in the Himalayas. Ancient One sat cross-legged, suspended in midair, meditating. His spiritual power can cover the entire earth. And the alien demon power that descended on New York could not escape his surveillance. Supreme Sorcerer, you are calling us. A middle-aged Asian man in a red robe and a young girl in a moon-white robe were summoned by Ancient One. They are mages who practice here and followers of Ancient One. Wang, Lan. There has been an invasion of demons from other dimensions in New York, which may endanger the safety of the New York Temple. Mordo is now guarding the London Temple. Ancient One opened his eyes and came out of meditation. I need you to lead the mages to eliminate the invading demon power. The demons from other dimensions have forgotten the agreement with the Supreme Sorcerer. I will not allow the earth to be invaded. Ancient One's tone was very calm. But these words gave people a sense of not being able to be rejected. The Supreme Sorcerer's words were followed by the law. I will go to that plane and give the demon a proper warning. Yes, we will follow your will, Supreme Mage. Wang Yulan slowly left the room, and other mages had begun to gather outside the door. The authority of the Supreme Mage must not be violated, and the foolish demon will pay the price for his actions. The blue electric light bursting from the muzzle of the Gauss rifle was like a summoning symbol of death, and the defense line of the Hand and Society Ninja had been completely shattered by Li Ji's magnificent sword. Now Li Ji and Frank were starting to shoot into the building with Gauss rifles. With the two as the vanguard, everyone began to advance to the upper floors of the building. A cold breath swept over, accompanied by negative emotions such as anger and fear, which instantly exploded in the Hand and Society building. This was the power that made Tony feel that his mind was out of control, and the chaotic energy began to spread rapidly in all directions. The first to bear the brunt were the people in the building. The White Tiger's amulet emitted a green glow, and it seemed to form a strange position to protect her from the impact of this ability. Frank seemed to be affected by this power and was a little dazed for a moment. But Iron Fist, who had been following Frank, found that something was wrong with him. He gathered the power of the dragon with his fists and directly punched into Frank's body, dispersing the evil power in Frank's body. At this time, Lee Ji was entangled by a group of ninjas and had no way to help Frank. Since the outbreak of this power, the ninjas of the Hand and Society were like chicken blood, and their strength and reaction increased several times in an instant. The samurai swords were used by them as flexibly as their own limbs. The ninjas of the Pure Innocence Society seemed to have experience in resisting this kind of energy. They formed a group and uttered ancient Japanese words, and their hands kept changing seals to dispel this evil energy. Nightwalker, use the palm method you used to deal with the monster that day. Iron Fist saw Lee Ji fighting with the ninjas with a gauze rifle and the electric blade, and reminded him loudly. Lee Ji, who was already a little bloodthirsty, suddenly woke up at this time. The excessive killing and the power here had a slight impact on him. Using the technique of the Great Sun Tathagata seal, white light roamed all over his body, like the red sun at dawn dispelling the darkness, and all the evil spirits had nowhere to hide. At this moment, Lee Ji felt that his spirit was more focused than ever before. With one palm print, he was like the rising sun, illuminating everything and breaking all evil laws and evils. In this dazzling white light, ordinary people felt as warm as the sunshine of early spring, but for the people of the Hand and Society who were deeply influenced by the evil god, it was like being burned by flames. Wherever the sun shines, all evil is broken. Today, Lee Ji has no mercy and no compassion. Since what the Hand and Society did was to let an evil god come to the world, then what I have to do is to send him and their evil god to hell together. Lee Ji's internal energy was pushed to the limit. He had never fought as crazy as today. The white light of the Great Sun Tathagata seal was added to himself, and the ninjas of the Hand and Society had no resistance at all. Sir, they are about to break through our formation. Yashi Chang Gangxin's men in the castle tower were reporting the battle situation in panic. Originally, the Pure Innocence Society had no fear of the Hand and the Society, but they did not expect that the Pure Innocence Society would find so many helpers, which had completely broken through the defense line of the Hand and the Society. Iron Man had already deployed his shield and rushed towards the castle tower again. At this moment, all the air defense weapons prepared by Yashi Chang Gangxin opened fire to stop his advance. The fierce missile explosions and the fire snakes that continued to spew out from the anti-aircraft machine guns in the dark night formed beautiful and deadly fireworks in New York at night. Prepare the formation, I want to summon the Ghost Rider. Yashi Chang Gangxin strode to a secret room in the castle tower. Just as Lee Ji was advancing layer by layer in the building, the negative energy erupted from the Hand and the Society had begun to affect the surroundings. The negative energy of chaos and killing began to spread within the scope of Hell's Kitchen, and the dark side of people began to expand. Many minor conflicts were magnified at this moment. People could fight each other for an unintentional friction. The unemployed, the heartbroken, and the homeless took to the streets to cause riots. Since the Battle of the Hand and the Society, the New York police have been mobilized, but the battle on the scene is no longer at a level they can participate in. The bizarre secrets and the ninjas that come and go like the wind. Ordinary police officers seem to be powerless in front of such supernatural forces. The only thing they can do is to block the scene to prevent the situation from escalating. S.H.I.E.L.D. was originally an expert in dealing with such incidents, but they are now in bigger trouble. A huge flaming bat attacked their sky carrier. More than 15 of the latest models of fighter jets have been shot down. What the hell is this? Lieutenant Hill looked at the huge bat outside the sky carrier in shock. He was spitting fire and instantly destroyed the missiles fired at him. Whatever he is, we must destroy him. Nick Fury ordered. Open the special weapons vault. Regardless of what the outcome of this incident is, the plan to form a team of heroes has been put on Nick's most urgent schedule. The beast struggled hard in Peter's body, and Peter was fighting for control of this body with it. The closer he got to the Hand and the Society building, the harder it was for Peter to control his body. Nightwalker, I saw your friend. Tony was using an energy cannon to deal with the last missile launcher on the castle tower, and the entire castle tower was beaten beyond recognition. He seems to have become stronger. Lee Ji was getting closer and closer to the rooftop, and the ninjas of the Hand and the Society were becoming increasingly scarce. He immediately felt something was wrong when he heard Tony's words coming to him through the headset, because Peter should be staying at the base at this time. Be careful, Iron Man. You'd better prevent him from getting closer to here. The thing that Li Ji least expected happened, and Peter was still controlled by the beast. Originally, he expected to kill the Hand and the Society and solve the Hand and the Society's summoning secrets before the beast controlled Peter. But obviously, this plan failed. What? But if it's just to stop him, it should be easy, Tony said with some confusion. Spider-Man is no longer Spider-Man. He wanders among the high-rise buildings in New York. He is about to go back to home. Young man, I don't know why, but your brother seems to expect me to stop you, so don't run around, Tony said as he sent a non-lethal energy shock to Peter. But Tony underestimated Spider-Man. Peter Parker, who combined spider sense with the evil beast, was not so easy to deal with. With an incredible mid-air turn, Peter easily dodged the energy shock launched by Tony. He was already standing on the edge of the castle tower. A white spider silk shot out from a corner that Tony could not expect and stuck to his armor firmly. Peter, who became a beast, was so powerful that it was terrifying. He could generate a pulling force of more than 25 tons by gently swinging the spider silk. Tony's armor was swung by Peter like a rag flying in the air, and then it hit his hand and the roof of the building. The walls of the castle tower were inlaid with steel plates for defense, but it was still smashed through several layers. Roar! Spider-Man's voice no longer sounded like a human. He flew over to Iron Man, who had not yet stood up, and one of his hands grabbed Tony's neck. The specially made gold titanium alloy armor actually began to twist and deform under his power. Sir, your neck armor has been attacked, and your life is in danger, Jarvis reminded. I know, fire the chest cannon. Tony no longer held back when it came to his own life, and the energy cannon on his chest burst out with terrible destructive power. Spider-Man jumped and dodged the shock wave. Before Spider-Man landed, a black and red energy with a destructive aura was gushing towards him. Spider-Man, who was unable to dodge, was hit and flipped to the ground. A deep gully was plowed out of the roof of the building, and the situation on the lower floor could already be seen. Now a green demon has come here on his gliding wing, and the beast is his target. The battle situation in New York has exceeded our imagination. The female mage named Lan has beautiful black hair and deep eyes like the starry sky. It may affect the safety of the sanctuary. There was not much fluctuation in her tone, and there was only a hint of emotion when she mentioned the sanctuary. Form a mirror space, and don't let the battle here affect ordinary people. Wang Zheng stood beside her and said. 12 mages stood in various positions in Hell's Kitchen according to Wang's command. They formed magic marks and chanted mysterious spells. An invisible wall was rising, which separated this place from the real world into 2 dimensions. When this invisible wall rose, Li Ji's spiritual perception also produced a slight fluctuation. But he didn't have time to care about others now, because at this time he was standing in front of a very powerful enemy. Gray skeletons, burning flames, and an old Suzuki motorcycle. This shape looks like the Ghost Rider he had seen before. But doesn't the Ghost Rider ride a Harley? Why did this guy ride a Suzuki? Chapter 134 Ghost Rider. Don't take another step forward, believe me. I have no interest in killing you. The Ghost Rider riding a Suzuki motorcycle did not seem to want to fight Li Ji. He just sat on the motorcycle, and had no intention of taking action. Instead, he warned Li Ji and his group. The floor above him was where the magic circle of the Hand and Society was located. As the mortal enemy of the beast, the Ghost Rider had always been at odds with the beast, and the battle between them had lasted for nearly 800 years. The Ghost Rider's spirit of vengeance would not die, but the host of the Ghost Rider would die. During the hundreds of years of fighting with the beast, many hosts of the Ghost Rider had died in battle. The beast had mastered a set of means to restrain the Ghost Rider, including the Hand and Society. The spirit of vengeance could not harm the people of the Hand and Society, and the host could not fight them as the Ghost Rider when they met the people of the Hand and Society. He could only turn back into an ordinary person, and was easily captured by the Hand and Society. There was even a way to control the host of the Ghost Rider in Koga's secret method, and today this Ghost Rider was such an unlucky guy. Kamib Shong is a Ghost Rider from the East. He has become the spokesperson of Hell since he was parasitized by the spirit of vengeance. But he was unlucky enough to run into the Hand and the Society and was controlled. I don't know if he is one of the most unlucky Ghost Riders in history. Although he was reluctant, he still had to work for the Hand and the Society. Let me go up. Li Ji is not in the mood to care whether Kamib Shong is willing to participate in this matter. Peter has lost control. The most important thing is to solve the ritual of the hand and the society's summoned beasts above. No, I'm afraid not. A chain burning with hellfire was pulled out by Kamibshong, and the chain burning with devil flames blocked the way forward. Then I can only force my way in. Li Ji raised the gauze rifle and fired fiercely at Kamibshong. But Kamibshong didn't even have the thought of dodging. This purely physical attack really has no meaning for the Ghost Rider. The bullets fired by the gauze rifle were melted by the hellfire burning beside Kamibshong before they got close to him. You can't move forward. I told you I'm not in the mood to kill you now. Although Shen Baiangshan was very upset by this attack, he was more upset by the hand and the society. Although the hand and the society had temporarily controlled him with a secret spell, he could still choose to work without exerting any effort. He was too lazy to kill these people to satisfy the hand and the society. Really? Then try this. When Li Ji's gauze rifle attack was ineffective, Tai Quan, who was standing next to Li Ji, shouted and flew forward. The martial arts learned from Kunlun and the dragon power obtained from Shenlong were all burst out by Tai Quan at this time. The originally orange fists burst into gold, and the golden light was so bright that people couldn't look directly at them. The phantom of a giant dragon even burst out from Tai Quan's chest, as if it was roaring. Tai Quan's fists were like the claws of a giant dragon and pounced fiercely on Shen Baiangshan. The iron chains that were originally used as defense, the hellfire on them were temporarily blown out. The surging dragon power broke the chains inch by inch. Shen Baiangshan had to be more serious. He could feel that it would be uncomfortable if he was concentrated by such power. The grey bone claws brought a ball of hellfire and rushed towards the dragon power of Iron Fist. The collision of the two terrible energies caused a huge explosion. The golden dragon was dispersed, and the hellfire symbolizing death was also splashed everywhere. Even the reinforced concrete structure would be instantly vaporized after encountering this small amount of hellfire. Some of the splashing hellfire flew towards the crowd of the Pure Innocence Society, and the stick old man who had been guarding the crowd flew out. Although he was old, he was still agile. He played a special long stick tightly, like a swimming dragon, and the shadow of the stick was like the sea. As the stick old man said, he was also a practitioner, but he never revealed where he practiced. But his stick shadow revealed a hint of Kunlun, which surprised Iron Fist who had just retreated. The old man with the stick exerted his strength to the utmost, barely blocking all the hellfire, but he looked very uncomfortable, and even took several steps back and almost couldn't stand. The stick stained by the hellfire became a pile of waste and could not be used. And Shen Baiangshan, who had just defeated the Iron Fist, had no time to breathe, and Li Ji on the side had already been ready to use the palm method of the Great Sun Tathagata Seal. Since physical attacks are ineffective, it seems that only energy attacks can be relied on, and the Great Sun Tathagata Seal essentially restrains all kinds of evil spirits. In essence, the revenge spirit that woke up from hell is also one of the evil spirits, and the Great Sun Tathagata Seal's skills just restrain him. This kind of righteous spirit of the world made Shen Baiangshan very uncomfortable, which made people have to take it seriously. His car, a Suzuki SV650 supercar class motorcycle, seemed to have spirituality. The engine roared loudly, and rushed towards Li Ji with hellfire all the way, like a missile. The speed of this car was too fast, and Li Ji couldn't dodge it at all. The Great Sun Tathagata Seal hit the hell motorcycle firmly. The dazzling white light symbolizing the destruction of all evil covered the entire motorcycle, and the hellfire became extremely weak at this moment. Li Ji's Great Sun Tathagata Seal slapped the hell motorcycle away with one palm, and even damaged the entire car, but he was also blown away by the impact. He crashed through two walls before stopping. If it weren't for the power armor shock absorption, if it weren't for the exchange of the Vajra indestructible body divine art to strengthen the defense, just this one hit would probably hurt him, just like Iron Fist now. He just burst out a big move, but was not only beaten away by Shen Baiangshan, but now he is also injured and has no fighting power for the time being. On his side, only Li Ji and Iron Fist can really hurt a Ghost Rider, and the others are not good enough. But Shen Baiangshan really doesn't seem to have any intention of attacking him and others. Now he has blocked the intersection again, preventing everyone from going forward. The fire of hell was repairing the motorcycle damaged by Li Ji, but because of the attribute restrained, there was almost no effect. This made Shen Baiangshan feel very annoyed. Li Ji's strength was completely beyond his expectations. His eyes flashing with the flames of revenge stared at Li Ji fiercely. He really didn't want to satisfy the hand in society, but it didn't mean he wouldn't be angry. The angry Shen Biangshan rushed towards Li Ji with a raging fire of hell. Li Ji didn't have time to hesitate anymore and used the Great Sun Tathagata seal again. The mirror wall outside has been completely erected, and now the space near the hand in society has been completely closed into another dimension. I feel that in addition to the breath of the demon god, there is also an evil smell here, like from hell. Lan stared at the building of the hand in society and said, "A familiar energy should be from Kunlun, and who is the other energy? The energy of hell should be the smell of Ghost Rider. Lan, you go to check why Ghost Rider appeared here, and I will take people to deal with the demon god from the other dimension." "Well, there is also a beast from hell," the middle-aged Chinese man called the king said and nodded to Lan. Lan's white fingertips were like white jade, gently swiping across the calm space in front of him, but it seemed to cut a track of space. The golden-red fireworks drew a beautiful circle, and with light steps, Lan and the other two mages instantly crossed the distance of space and came to Li Ji, who was confronting the Ghost Rider. Lan's appearance surprised Li Ji. Originally, he had been forced into a corner by Shen Biangshan, and the power of the Ghost Rider was really not something he could deal with now, but suddenly a space gate suddenly appeared in the space around him. Well, forgive Li Ji's lack of words, he really couldn't imagine what words to use to describe what he saw. After the space gate appeared, a breathtakingly beautiful girl appeared, with long black hair and deep eyes like the starry sky. The skin color was as bright as white jade, and the moon-white robe. At this moment, Li Ji wanted to stand in front of this girl and shout, "Girl, be careful of the thieves in front of you," just like the scenes he had seen in novels before. But this girl looked much stronger than himself. When she waved her hands, a golden magic circle appeared out of thin air, and the space around Shen Biangshan began to fold in her hands. Forward became backward, above became below, and Shen Biangshan instantly lost all sense of space. Here he could not move forward or backward, because no matter where he moved, he would never reach his destination. "Spirit of vengeance, this is not the place you should come to," Lam said, stretching out one of his hands and gently clenching his fist, like a candle that was extinguished by oxygen isolation. The hellfire that had been burning on Shen Biangshan's body was extinguished silently. He had never encountered such a thing. Now he looked as ridiculous as the most basic skeleton soldier in the D&D game, because he could not summon any energy from hell in his body. Lan's words to the Ghost Rider did not reveal the slightest fear of the Hell Walker, but Shen Biangshan's body began to tremble. This was not what Shen Biangshan wanted to do, but the spirit of vengeance in his body felt afraid. "Who are you?" Shen Biangshan tried not to let the fear of the spirit of vengeance affect him. "I am a disciple of the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One. My name is Lan." Lan's words were simple and calm, but they seemed to have a strong deterrent force, not because of Lan himself, but because of the Ancient One who was so powerful in the multiverse. "And who are you?" Lan turned his head and glanced at Li Ji. Li Ji felt that he had never been so embarrassed in his life. He really hoped that the girl would see him beating up the Ghost Rider with his might. Instead of the miserable look he had now, the battle with Kamibian Shang had already shattered his power armor, and the secondary adamantium alloy could not resist the burning of hellfire. He was also covered in dust, but fortunately the helmet of the power armor was still there, and the girl could not see the blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. This was the blood flowing from the vibration of his abdomen in the battle just now. "You can call me Nightwalker. I am not usually like this," Li Ji explained. "You tied him up, right? Then we can go up and stop the hand and the summoned beast." Although the girl attracted Li Ji's attention, he could still tell what he should do now. He didn't have time to find out what the girl's background was. Anyway, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, at least in battle. The most important thing now is that Peter Parker is still waiting for him to save him. "Beast? You mean the beast from hell?" Lam said calmly. "Don't worry, the king will kill him. The king brought 8 wizards to fight, and the beast will definitely die." "The king? There are 8 more wizards? The same as you?" Lan nodded slightly to confirm Li Ji's question. Fuxk. Li Ji didn't care about being polite to this beautiful girl who just had a crush on him. Now Peter's life and death is the most important thing. A total of 9 wizards as awesome as this girl? Even if he was possessed by the beast, Peter would have no chance of surviving. Look at the Ghost Rider, who was played around by a wizard girl. Li Ji didn't have the mood to care about this girl now. He began to run upstairs desperately. "Are you from Kunlun?" Lan walked up to the injured Iron Fist and asked. Yes, I am the Iron Fist of this generation, and I say hello to the Supreme Sorcerer. Iron Fist saluted. Who activated that powerful force of light just now? Lan was referring to the force she was not familiar with. It was him, the Night Walker. His power seems to have a restraining effect on all evil creatures and energies. Iron Fist replied. He is the most special one among all the practitioners I have ever seen. A practitioner who can activate the power of light and has a suppressive effect on dark creatures. Lan muttered to herself as she looked at the direction where Li Ji left. Some people say that there is nothing exciting in my recent writing. Please leave a message, readers, what the exciting point is. This is my first time writing a book and I really don't know. Please let me know. Thank you. Chapter 135 Need a Guide. Shenbian Shang has been controlled by the disciples of the Supreme Mage, and Li Ji's passage is no longer blocked. The red-clothed Shuhohu ninjas only have one last line of defense left, and behind them is the Shuhohu's magic circle. Under the order of Yasha Chang Gangsan, they are holding on to this last line of defense. But they can't resist it alone now. Whether it's Li Ji and his group rushing up from below, or the Green Goblin Iron Man fighting in a mess on the roof, or the Mage and the Beast Spider-Man. Their fighting power is no longer something that Shuhohu can easily stop, especially the Ghost Rider Shenbian Shang, who was originally a trump card but was simply controlled by Lan. This caused the Shuhohu's defense line to collapse completely. The development of the incident to this point is no longer something that Shuhohu can control. Now it really becomes a fight between gods and ghosts. The atmosphere of chaos and killing in the magic circle arranged by Shuhohu is even stronger, and the talismans carved with the blood of resentful creatures make the whole space filled with the smell of blood. You retreat. Li Ji found something wrong as soon as he stepped onto this floor. Under his shouting, other people who had not been involved in spiritual power were not allowed to come up. People with weak willpower or who had not trained their spiritual power would lose themselves in such a place. The energy of the great Sun Tathagata seal circulated throughout his body to ensure that Li Ji would not be invaded by the energy of external evil. But it still seemed that countless resentful spirits were entangled around him. They were afraid, they were confused, and they whispered in Li Ji's ear. These resentful spirits wanted to pull Li Ji into them and become their partner. This feeling was very uncomfortable, and Li Ji's eyes were covered with a layer of blood-red energy. Get out of my way. Since you are afraid of death, living beings cannot be reborn. Then let me completely destroy you. The purple thunder energy emerged again, and the sound of spring thunder shook the four fields. The lightning flashed and the resentful spirits were shattered, and the imprisoned souls were freed at this moment. The three yin-yang masters in the center of the magic circle were hit the most. Because Li Ji's purple thunder 9 strikes were aimed at them. The formation. And on Miyaji vomited blood, and a blood mist sprayed into the air. Countless resentful spirits gathered around this to form a blood-colored shield. But this was stimulated at the cost of life force. The Miyaji instantly became withered because of the loss of life force. With a blood-colored shield as defense, the other two Miyaji barely stabilized the formation. It would take some time for the purple thunder energy to break through this layer of defense. But Li Ji didn't have time to wait, and he directly fired another spring thunder. The blood-colored shield, which could no longer withstand it, exploded instantly, and the three Miyaji in the center of the formation instantly became charcoal. After dealing with these guys here, Li Ji went straight to the castle tower on the top of the building. Peter Parker was besieged by 9 mages and his life was in danger. The continuous activation of the purple thunder energy had made Li Ji feel tired, but he gritted his teeth and persisted. After Lam stepped onto the floor that was swept by Li Ji's purple thunder energy, he frowned slightly when he felt the lightning energy still remaining in the air. She and 2 other wizards used magic to quickly disperse all the evil spirits and purple thunder. On the top of the castle tower, the scene was extremely chaotic. The main purpose of Gwen being sent by Ancient One was to deal with Norman Osborn, who had accepted the power of the demon god. Of course, he didn't mind getting rid of the beast. Tony Stark, who had come to help, found that he couldn't help again. Whether it was Spider-Man possessed by the beast, or the Green Goblin wearing green armor and a demon mask, or the mysterious wizards who appeared at the end. Their fighting methods far exceeded Tony Stark's expectations. Before today, he firmly believed in science, but now he was facing a situation that science could not explain at present. Lock up the demon. Under Wang's order, several wizards summoned the wizard's whip, a golden rope formed by magic energy. As long as the wizard's power is not exhausted or interrupted, this golden rope is theoretically impossible to break free. The wizard whip was aimed at the Green Goblin, who was flying in the sky with his wings. Norman, who had transformed into the Green Goblin, seemed to know how powerful these wizards were. He didn't want to be his enemy, but now it was impossible for him to leave here, because the blockade of the mirror space could not be broken by anyone except the more powerful wizards. The beast possessed by Peter Parker was also paid attention to. Several other wizards who did not deal with the Green Goblin were fighting with Peter. The entire castle tower had become extremely chaotic. When Li Ji arrived, Peter had been controlled by 4 wizards. The wizards in the Marvel world are very special, because the wizards in the Marvel universe are not the kind seen in traditional novels. Those who fight with magic wands release spells from a distance, and then you throw a fireball, and I return you a water ball. In Marvel, all wizards are not only proficient in various magic, but also have super close combat capabilities. They have special combat skills that they have cultivated and developed. Their use of energy is not just a simple gathering and then releasing, but it is similar to gathering energy in the body to increase their close combat capabilities. This is very much like a warrior, and it can even be said that many mages have a higher fighting power than warriors. In the Marvel world, a mage who doesn't use a berserker axe to go berserk is no different from a salted fish. Peter, who is possessed by the beast, has been fighting with the beast for control of his body, and the beast's control over Peter seems a little uncoordinated. This allowed the mage to control him with a magic whip, and another mage used a magic blade to pierce Peter's chest directly. Get out of the way. When Li Ji saw this scene, he didn't care whether these mages were friendly forces or not. He raised the lightning blade and slashed at the mage who wanted to kill Peter. With a flashing blue lightning to force the mage back, Li Ji had seen Peter's current situation, which was indeed very bad. Now beside Peter, Li Ji could already feel the evil aura emanating from his body. I said, if I can defeat you once, I can defeat you a second time. Li Ji ignored the mage who was about to attack him from behind. Instead, he used all his strength to activate the Great Syntafagata seal and rushed into Peter's body. Stay away from Spider-Man. You beast. When Li Ji was trying his best to expel the beast, Lan also came here. She stopped several mages who were about to attack Li Ji, and motioned them to wait and see what Li Ji was going to do. Li Ji didn't know how many times he had driven the energy of the Great Syntafagata seal today. His spirit was already very tired, but he didn't allow Peter Parker to really turn into a beast now. His original intention of gaining power was to protect his family and friends. He didn't want Ben Parker to die, nor did he want Harry to turn into the Green Goblin. At the same time, he didn't want Peter to turn into a beast who only knew how to kill. The energy of the brilliant sun was sent into Peter's body by Li Ji, and Yasha Chang Gangson, who had been hiding in the castle tower, felt the roar of the beast. The beast was wailing, and the beast was afraid. Because this time it had fully appeared and could no longer hide in Peter's body. Yasha Chang Gangson cut his wrist, and red blood continued to flow out. Come on, my god, I am willing to be your vessel. Attached to my body, I will make your glory reappear. He has gone crazy, and the beast is now a lost dog. Now the evil beast has nowhere to go. If it still remains in Peter's body, it will be destroyed by this power. It must leave. Li Ji felt the beast in Peter's body ready to move, and it broke away from Peter's body. The beast looks like a disgusting giant worm. Only the mage and Li Ji can see this thing. Li Ji doesn't understand why the Hand and the society would worship this ghost thing. But this does not hinder his determination to destroy it. Since you look so disgusting, you should not stay in the world to scare people. Confirming that a beast has left Peter's body, Li Ji released the transmission of energy to Peter. He held up the last strength to mobilize all the energy in his body. Li Ji has never felt the energy in his body so coordinated. Although the 3 energies of spirit, energy and strength are almost at the bottom, they have become more condensed due to repeated use and fighting. This is something the system has never told Li Ji. All the power is gathered on Li Ji's left hand. Disappear. Li Ji shouted, and all the energy in his body burst out. The palm print formed by the white energy continued to expand. In a flash, it has become a huge palm with a diameter of nearly 10 meters. The character surges in the palm, and the aura of righteousness is overwhelming. The evil beast of the Hand and society and the crazy Ji Chang Gangson melted in this white light, and a huge palm print was also hit on the castle tower. Li Ji was completely exhausted after hitting with one palm, and the energy in his body was completely exhausted, like a dry desert without a drop of water. Peter looked normal, but he was still in a coma. Li Ji fell to the ground and couldn't even stand up. Everything he did in today's battle has exceeded his expectations. Li Ji has decided that as long as this incident is over, he must go to Iron Fist to learn how they, Kunlun, use keys systematically. His knowledge in this area is too lacking, just like a beggar who has a mountain of treasure but can't use it. Lan walked over and spoke softly. Well done, Nightwalker. You are the most special practitioner I have ever seen. If you are interested, I will report your story to the Supreme Master. I believe he will be willing to see you. Who is the Supreme Master? Li Ji panted heavily, and he didn't even have the strength to look up at Lan's delicate face. You will know when the time comes, but we still have to deal with another demon. Lan pointed to the green demon who was fighting with other mages. What Li Ji was worried about still happened. This breath was exactly what he felt on Norman Osborn last time. Norman became the Green Goblin, and was also related to the demon god. All this made Li Ji feel powerless. The feeling that he thought he had the advantage of plot cognition by crossing was gone. In fact, up to now, Li Ji has understood that this universe is completely different from the Marvel he knew before, and he needs to learn to be humble. Predictions cannot be used here, and all the developments of things have produced huge variables because of his participation. And the system Goldfinger that he thought he relied on is not a big killer after it is turned on. It is more like a simple training. What kind of achievements can be achieved in the end depends entirely on oneself. Li Ji's cognition has undergone a major change at this moment. The dangers of this world are completely beyond his expectations. His previous clueless upgrade method is purely a waste of his time and hard-earned reputation. He must find a real guide on the road of cultivation. The dimension of the other plane is full of the breath of death and destruction. There is no life here, and it is dark. The hot lava is flowing on many planets, and the dark universe without visible stars shows the desolation and silence here. A golden space door broke through the void, and Guyer descended here on the magic circle. Thanks to book friends, go to your sister's book friends show Randing Jun Xiang Shitian Feng Lian Xiao Bei Kian Xiao Beta. Yan Gui Qian Long Wang. Yan Gui Yi Li Hozing Xiao Hung Yuang Sui Yuan Liu Feng and other book friends for their rewards. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136. I have something to say before going on sale. I have something to say about the upcoming release tomorrow. There are many people writing fanfiction on Kidian, and there are also many people writing Marvel fanfiction. I have always believed that Marvel, as a fanfiction, is the most difficult to write among all fanfiction. Unlike many other stories, Marvel itself does not have a fixed protagonist. There is no linear story narrated by a protagonist. Instead, it weaves together multiple linear stories and finally forms a huge system. This is a system that all fanfiction authors are afraid of, with many characters and too complicated stories. The power system is mixed with various things. It is not just science, magic, martial arts, aliens, and gods, but even many things outside the domain. Therefore, many authors write about the relatively simple and clear clues of the movie universe as the theme. People who have read my novels to this day should be able to find that this book is not about a simple movie universe or a 616 universe. It is more like a brand new universe that I have made up, and all the stories here are original creations of me after borrowing from Marvel's settings. In this case, the protagonist of this book cannot use the foresight to kill all around. Although the system is a golden finger, this golden finger is very irresponsible. The character of the protagonist is an ordinary person, and perhaps his only specialty is cooking and talking nonsense. This kind of person is actually an inconspicuous person among the masses. Maybe it's you, maybe it's me. The essence of this story is actually the story of how an ordinary person transforms into a superhero under the training. I have always believed that the reason why successful people are successful is not because they are reborn or have golden fingers. Successful people must have their own characteristics. A second-rate guy who is reborn and returns to 20 years ago is still a second-rate guy. This is actually a story about how ordinary people like you and me find their own characteristics and finally become an extraordinary person. This is not just about whether the power is strong or not, but also a journey of a person's spiritual growth. The protagonist must learn excellent qualities such as humility, strength, tolerance, and courage in this process, not just how much power he gains and how many monsters he kills. It is not easy to write a book like this. This is the author's first novel, and there must be many problems. Whether it is the writing style or the plot structure, it is impossible to satisfy many people. This is where I know. For example, someone recently said that the content of this volume is too messy and there are too many characters. This is because I directly cut more than 50,000 words from the story of the second volume of the Vampire Empire. Many stories and characters that should have been used as a prelude in the second volume could not appear. But for the story of the third volume, I had to bite the bullet. Because many people left messages saying that they did not want to read the vampire story, I had to cut the second volume. In the end, only the ending of the vampire story was barely inserted into the story of the third volume. To be honest, after this cut, the first 500,000 words of my outline were basically scrapped. In addition, in order to ensure daily updates, I basically had no time to revise the previous outline, and in order not to destroy the content that was set later, I was very painful when writing the content of the third volume. And there were many things that should have been written, but I couldn't find a place to put them in. In the end, I had to compromise and make deletions to ensure that I could continue writing. Regarding writing major events, I was actually very entangled. If the perspective is focused on the protagonist, then many side stories will be abandoned. If I write multiple lines, some book friends will say that we are not here to watch the protagonist, and a protagonist who doesn't pretend to be cool is not a good protagonist. In particular, the major events in my book are basically my original creations. For the missing parts of the third volume, I will write independent single-player chapters in the way of Marvel supplementary branch settings and publish them to the works. This is free. I will complete the story about Erica King and the vampire Yasha Chang Gang in Daredevil. Many of the contents were originally interspersed in the Vampire Empire, but now there is no way. It cannot be forced into the story of the third volume. Otherwise, there will be a lot of time when the protagonist does not appear and becomes a super soy sauce. As for the story that some people want to see, the protagonist is powerful and then collects this beauty and that beauty. It will not appear in my book. There will not even be ambiguity. The reason is very simple, because my mother will read my updates every day, and I can't write those things. Don't expect the lolly training you want to see. My mother will beat me if I write it. Anyway, don't expect anything out of line and excessive. The above is on the shelves tomorrow. Please subscribe. There will be another chapter update tonight. Chapter 137 Supreme Mage. The Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One, originally had the surname Yao. Many years ago, he was just an ordinary Chinese farmer's son. That was still the era of the feudal dynasty. He was led into the vast world of magic by his master. He abandoned the name of the original secular world and used the name Ancient One given to him by his master. After that, he inherited his master's mantle and became the Supreme Sorcerer to protect this world. He is the most powerful Supreme Sorcerer of all time, and the name of Ancient One resounds throughout the universe. Whether it is Asgard in the Nine Worlds or the distant foreign demons, they have heard of his reputation. Ancient One has turned the tide many times when the earth was about to be destroyed. He used his supreme magic power to make countless demons who were ambitious for the earth sink into the sand. Many demons signed an agreement with him that as long as the Supreme Sorcerer was still on earth, they would never set foot on the earth. And today, if someone dares to challenge his authority, he will make the demon who provoked the Supreme Sorcerer pay the price. Ancient One came on the golden magic circle, and the complicated ancient text formed a curtain around him. Like a golden veil flowing outside his body. Wherever the Ancient One went, the raging fire stopped, and the power of magic enveloped the earth. Come out, Satanish. The Ancient One's voice was low, but it spread throughout the planet. In response to the Ancient One's words, there was a tremor like an earthquake. A demon god descended on this planet out of thin air. He was nearly 100 meters tall, with dark green skin and demon horns, and the most bizarre thing was that he had another demon face on his chest and abdomen. He was burning with an everlasting flame, and the magma around his huge feet became hotter and more violent. Ancient One, you can't set foot here. We have an agreement. The demon god named Stannis had a very unpleasant voice, like a broken bellows. He was the demon god who gave Norman power. You broke the agreement first, and your power was projected onto the earth. Compared with the huge demon god, the Ancient One seemed very small. But there was no fear in his words, but a strong question. Our agreement is not to set foot on earth, but there are believers on earth, and they are willing to sign a contract with us. This is none of your business. Stannis argued forcefully. Don't challenge my patience, Stannis. Ancient One threatened. You can't bear my anger. This is my domain, my world. Do you still want to go to war with me here? Stannis said very confidently. Who gave you such confidence, Stannis? Let me see. It seems that there have been many changes in your power. This is the power of the dark space. Ancient One has revealed the source of Stannis's confidence. You have become Dormammu's lackey. You should know that being friends with Dormammu is being my enemy. Ancient One's tone has become cold. Strong magic fluctuations began to overflow, and the planet that was originally erupting magma suddenly became quiet at this moment. This power made Stannis a little afraid, but he still spoke toughly. You never killed Dormammu. We all know that your power is fading. Ancient One, it would be unwise for you to be an enemy of Dormammu. Your time as the Supreme Sorcerer is short. There is no need to create enemies for yourself. The Ancient One listened to Stannis's words quietly, and he said calmly. Are you done? I am the Supreme Sorcerer. The Ancient One said softly, and with a wave of his hands, a huge space cage appeared directly, covering Stannis. Stannis wanted to escape. He urged the fire in his body and sent out a huge green energy wave, but it still did not shake the space cage. The name of the Ancient One resounds throughout the universe. The Ancient One's movements did not pause at all, and the space cage had locked Stannis. With another wave of his hand, the golden magic circle under his feet expanded greatly. I am unique in heaven and earth. 4 huge golden swords rose from the magic circle. Stannis already knew what the Ancient One was going to do. He was ready to kill him completely. At this moment, the Ancient One no longer cared about the agreement with the demon god. He needs to establish his prestige in the universe again. Killing a demon who plays a trick is a good choice. This can be used to deter other evil-minded people. You are crazy. Ancient One, you are tearing up the agreement. Stannis warned. The name of the Supreme Sorcerer cannot be violated, and my words are the law. Ancient One ignored Stannis's warning and all, because he knew very well. The so-called agreement is based on his personal strength. As long as he shows a little weakness, other demons will rush to the earth like vultures seeing rotten meat. In the name of the Ancient One, I declare to all the universes that Stannis, the Lord of Hell, has violated the agreement. Today, I will sentence him to death. The words of the Ancient One were conveyed to the ears of the demons of the major universes in a special way. Odin in Asgard, Malekith, the king of the Dark Elves, Marduk, the body of Satan, and Lucifer, the leader of the fallen angels. Of course, it also includes Dormammu, the Lord of Darkness in a more distant time and space dimension. You can't do this, Ancient One. Stannis was scared. The last time Ancient One did this was 300 years ago. He cut a demon who tried to descend on Earth into pieces and abandoned it in the universe, becoming a pile of space junk. I am the only one in heaven and earth who can break through the falsehood and not fall into darkness. Ancient One gently waved his fingers, and the vast magical energy surged from his hands. 4 golden giant swords moved slowly as Ancient One commanded. Each of them carried the power to destroy the world. Only stronger gods and demons can kill gods and demons. A golden giant sword chopped out, and a huge demon arm was cut off. Stannis struggled strongly, but under the powerful magic power of Ancient One, all this was in vain. Then another arm, and then legs. The golden giant sword brought great pain and torture to Stannis, just like when he liked to torture the souls of living beings. All the pain suffered by those souls was returned to himself. He is not dead yet. Ancient One wants to kill him in the most severe way and abandon his body in the wasteland of the universe to deter other demons. Stannis's head has not been cut off by Ancient One immediately, and he is still thinking about escaping. Demons can abandon their bodies. As long as their souls are still there is still hope. Stannis tried to use all his strength to attack Ancient One's soul confinement. Maybe he was right, Ancient One's power was indeed fading. At the moment when the golden giant sword descended, Stannis's soul locked onto a place he had just given power. He was already panicking and had no choice but to forget that the place was the earth. Norman Osborn's Green Goblin was so powerful that Leegi couldn't believe it. He didn't even have the strength to move his fingers now, and Peter had just woken up. Peter, who was possessed by the beast, also felt exhausted. "Thank you for saving me again, buddy." Peter shook his dizzy head and said, "You're welcome. Is that thing still in your body?" Li Ji asked. "No, I can't feel it anymore. I think you've eliminated him completely this time." Peter's spider sense didn't prompt him to any danger. "Who is the green demon?" Peter asked a question in his heart. This green goblin gave him a familiar feeling. It's Norman. He is also controlled by an evil force. Li Ji was not sure whether Norman's evil power was obtained by himself or was possessed like Peter. "Like me," Peter said with some surprise. "We have to help him." Spider-Man Peter Parker tried to stand up, but failed. He was also very weak. "We can't move now. I'm afraid I can't help Norman." Li Ji shook his head and said, "After all, compared with Peter Harry, his relationship with Norman Osborn is very ordinary. It's not as good as Ben Parker, because Norman looks kind but actually keeps people away. The Green Goblin's fighting method is very special. 2 small-caliber Gatling machine guns are installed under his sliding wings. And there are heat rays installed on his armor. In addition, there are various bombs. The most special thing is that he can use a pulse attack of evil power. The black and red shock wave was more frightening than the evil energy emitted by the beast. The mages formed a formation, with their shields and whips working together. It was not that the Green Goblin did not want to leave, but because the Mage Land had once again imprisoned the space. It seemed that only she could do this here. She made complex gestures with both hands, and the golden light fluctuated in her hands, as if she was fixing the Ghost Rider. The Green Goblin also lost his sense of space in an instant, upside down, and unable to distinguish left from right. He slammed hard on the floor of the castle tower. Tony wanted to go forward to help, and his energy cannon had been adjusted to the maximum impact mode. But he didn't know that the space around the Green Goblin had changed. Unlike the small-scale distortion of reality like Murity, this was a real change in space. Tony's energy cannon did not hit the Green Goblin at all, but almost injured another mage by refraction of space. Fortunately, this mage had always had his shield turned on. Although Tony's energy cannon shattered the shield, the mage was not injured anyway. "Don't mess around here." Wang angrily waved the mage whip in his hand, put on the ankle of MK3, and threw Tony away with a strong swing. This made Li Ji a little surprised. The strength of the mage is so great? It's a bit subverting his imagination. It's said that the mages are weak. This group of mages looks like they have physical fitness comparable to Iron Fist. Why call Iron Man? He looks weak. Peter glanced at Tony, who was thrown away. This scene seemed to have been seen not long ago. I thought he would upgrade the armor and become more powerful. I didn't expect it to be so weak. Li Ji shook his head. And now Tony is the most depressed. He heard the conversation between Li Ji and Peter. Originally, he thought he could show his prowess after changing into new armor. What is a killer group in Tony's eyes? But reality once again hit Tony's fragile heart. "Jarvis, remember that I want to study more powerful armor." Tony's tone was full of unwillingness. Just when Li Ji was complaining about Iron Man, a huge black vortex suddenly appeared in the air. Stannis broke into the mirror space directly with his own power. After all, this was just a mirror space arranged by a group of small wizards and could not stop a demon god at all. The majestic power made people breathless. This was the source of the power in Norman Osborn's body. The whole world seemed to become dark at this moment, and everyone stared at the huge black vortex. Li Ji felt that his heartbeat slowed down because he was suppressed by this power. A huge black demon shadow broke out of the vortex, as if it had the power to destroy the world. This power was so strong that Li Ji had no desire to compete with it. And then Li Ji saw an unforgettable scene in his life. The shadow of the black demon seemed to be afraid of something. He was running around. Li Ji soon understood what he was afraid of, and a huge golden palm cut through time and space and suddenly appeared. The demon shadow that was so arrogant before seemed to be fixed by something at this moment, unable to move. Just like picking up weeds on the roadside, the huge golden palm easily pinched the demon in its palm. The power of the Supreme Mage cannot be violated. The golden palm in the sky disappeared again with the shadow of the demon, and Li Ji almost lost his mind. He looked at the group of mages. They said they were disciples of the Supreme Mage? The power of human beings is so great that it can be so magnificent. Chapter 138 The Death of the Green Goblin? The golden palm covered the sky, and the demon's phantom made people feel like they were falling into Devil's Cave. These powers that ordinary people could not imagine appeared in front of Li Ji. Then they disappeared like this. What is powerful? Li Ji understood for the first time. Just the fluctuations in the air could detect the essence of these two energies. They definitely have the terrible power to tear the earth apart. And what do I have? It's just like a firefly competing with a bright moon. The Supreme Sorcerer. Li Ji has never heard of this name. Before he came to the Marvel world, he had only watched the big movie of Civil War and knew nothing about a mysterious wizard. Is this terrible power really possessed by humans? At this moment, it was not only Li Ji who was shocked, but Tony Stark also suffered the biggest crisis of faith in his life. He used to be so sure that science was omnipotent, but these days, especially after getting involved with Nightcrawler, everything Tony saw and knew was subverted. Did science disappear at this moment? Where did the laws of physics go? Exclamation mark. Why is there such a strange life form that can travel through time and space? Is science an illusion, or are there too many things we don't know? Tony's originally arrogant and insolent heart suddenly collapsed. What he was proud of seemed to be shattered at this moment. Sir, your mood swings are very unstable. I'm starting to increase the oxygen supply of the life support system. I suggest you start taking deep breaths to adjust your state. Jarvis was always loyal to his duty. No. Jarvis, open the mask and I want to breathe. Tony did not follow Jarvis's advice, but directly opened the mask of his armor. The air here was filled with gunpowder and dust, which made Tony uncomfortable. But he still didn't plan to put on the mask. Do you know what that is? Tony's expression was a little stiff, and he slowly walked to Li Ji and asked, Supreme Mage. Li Ji just mechanically repeated the words he had just heard. And these people, these mages are his disciples. I mean, is this damned hell guy really a human? Tony was a little hysterical, and everything that happened today strongly refreshed his three views. What was originally thought to be right began to shatter, and what was originally thought to be impossible began to rebuild at this moment. You should be more respectful, that is the Supreme Master. The protector of the earth. The person who said this was Iron Fist. He was a little injured just now because he had a head-on attack with a Ghost Rider. Now it seems that his condition is better. He came to the castle tower with the help of his friend Luke Cage. What is the protector of the earth? Tony asked a question that Li Ji also wanted to know. Do you think that life on Earth is unique in the universe? Iron Fist did not answer directly, but asked back. No, I firmly believe that there must be other extraterrestrial life, but we know very little about the universe. Tony's answer was very clear. Yes, we know very little about the universe and other life, and how can you be sure that there is no evil life with different intentions for the Earth? Iron Fist recalled Kunlun, which itself is also a strange existence in another dimension. Kunlun can only be entered at a special time and a special place. And Kunlun itself also has a certain meaning of being born from the combination of alien civilization and traditional China. But not all alien civilizations are friendly. As far as Iron Fist knows, the Supreme Sorcerer has repeatedly stopped the invasion of extraterrestrial life. So you mean these guys are aliens? Including the Supreme Sorcerer? Li Ji said with some confusion. No, Nightwalker. It's not as simple as aliens. They are completely different life forms. I don't know how to describe and explain them. If you have the opportunity to meet the Supreme Sorcerer, I believe he will answer you. Iron Fist said that he couldn't know more. As for the Supreme Sorcerer, I can give you a clear answer. He was originally just an ordinary earthling. He reached such a powerful state today through continuous practice. Really, it's unbelievable. Li Ji said with some disbelief. And Peter, who had been beside Li Ji, nodded in agreement. When the demon shadow appeared just now, the spider sense in Peter's body was raised to the highest level of danger. And there was no place to escape, which made Spider-Man sweat. I can't believe what I saw today. Tony muttered to himself, sitting next to Li Ji as if he was a little exhausted. The Green Goblin's battle also took a huge turn at this moment, when the breath of the Ancient One appeared in this space. The magic power he radiated caused the demon power that originally possessed the Green Goblin's armor to begin to collapse, and the black and red magic stripes began to slowly dim. Even if the Ancient One did not attack Norman, the Green Goblin still felt unprecedented oppression just by relying on his suppression. An almost transparent mage sword flew out from the hands of a mage. The mage sword formed by the energy of magic was extremely sharp. When the demon power began to decrease and the protective power of the Green Goblin's armor decreased, this mage sword pierced through the Green Goblin's armor. Norman spurted out a stream of blood, and it was mixed with a weak, almost imperceptible black energy. This blood directly stained the Green Goblin's mask. The leader of this group of mages, the king, held a magic weapon in his hand, which was a magic cone. If you go to a temple in China, you can see similar weapons, held by the king of the law or the king of diamond. The king waved the magic cone with both hands, and something like a Vajra shot out from the magic cone. The golden light was extremely dazzling. The Vajra hit the green devil armor, and Norman was hit hard. The whole person fell forward, and the armor began to break. Norman's demon mask was blown off by this huge force, and then flew off the rooftop to an unknown place. At this time, Norman under the mask revealed his true face. He was wearing the green devil armor and was eroded by the power of the devil. He could no longer see his original appearance. Black and red stripes crawled all over his face, and his long ears looked more like a goblin than a human. A few sparks mixed with a smell of sulfur spewed out between his breaths. It was hard for Li Ji to say whether Norman was still a human being now. Maybe he was no longer a human being. Peter was also shocked by Norman's appearance. Norman looked like he had been completely eroded by the devil. Without giving them more time to be surprised, another sharp wizard sword pierced Norman's chest. Ah! Black and red energy burst out from Norman's chest in large quantities, and the severe pain also made Norman scream violently. Chapter 139 After the war. A large amount of demonic energy poured out, and Norman struggled frantically. The shadow of the demon's face kept flashing on his face. Evil demon, get out of here. The earth does not belong to you. With Wang's roar, the demon-breaking cone was fiercely inserted into Norman's back. At this moment, the demonic energy that had been entrenched in Norman's body was instantly detonated, and the black and red energy rushed straight to the sky. The other mages had already prepared. Under the cover of layer after layer of magic array, these evil powers did not overflow at all, and were all absorbed by the magic array. When the last trace of demonic energy dissipated, Norman fell to the ground weakly. We should go back soon. Wang looked at the messy hand and the meeting building and the nearby residential buildings and said. Fortunately, all this happened in the mirror dimension and would not affect the normal world. Of course, the destruction that occurred before the mage erected the mirror wall would have caused considerable damage in the real world. Lan walked to Wang's side, pointed at Li Ji beside him, and seemed to be whispering something. Wang looked at Li Ji with some surprise. Then he seemed to think for a while, and finally shook his head at Lan. Everything will have to wait until the Supreme Sorcerer makes a decision. Li Ji dragged his very tired body towards the Green Goblin. Oh, now he should be called Norman Osborn. Li Ji had mixed feelings about Norman today. He already knew that Norman's power might be related to the demon god from another world, and he just found out when chatting with Iron Man. The purpose of the Green Goblin's coming today was to kill Peter, although he didn't know that this was the action of the demon god Stannis to spy on the soul of the beast. So he had mixed feelings about Norman. On the one hand, he was the father of his best friend, and on the other hand, he was a demon who killed people without blinking an eye. Not to mention whether he was possessed by a demon, Li Ji could hardly forgive him just for the inhumane actions he did in the laboratory. What you did was very heroic, and your power is also very special. Standing in Li Ji's way was Wang. His voice was very loud and full of energy. I will report everything that happened today to the Supreme Mage. Maybe the mage will summon you. Li Ji did not answer. Too many things happened tonight. He had no idea what kind of mood he should be in to answer the king. Fortunately, the king did not say anything else. He just patted Li Ji on the shoulder and left here with other mages. The mirror wall began to fall slowly. Li Ji wanted to pick up Norman's body and leave here. Once Norman's body was found here, it would inevitably bring Harry a lot of unnecessary trouble. Norman was already dead. Li Ji did not expect him to just throw his body in the wild. When Li Ji's hand just touched Norman, Norman's body, which was supposed to be dead, moved. He slowly opened his eyes and grabbed Li Ji's sleeve with his own hand. He was very weak, but not completely dead. Norman's voice was hoarse and weak. You are Jason, I know it's you. Li Ji was a little surprised and wanted to say something, but Norman stopped him. I'm dying, I know. Listen to me, Jason. From the day I saw you, I knew you were different. I did a lot of wrong things, and I signed a pact with the devil. In exchange for the extension of my life, but everything I did was for Harry. I can't let Harry be troubled by our family's disease. Norman's voice became weaker and weaker. I have found a way now. It's in my private study. I left a message for Harry. You need to tell him for me. Blood began to flow from the corners of Norman's mouth. I'm not a good person, but I think I can at least be a good father. Promise me, Jason, to help Harry. Help Harry, he is still too immature. If he takes the helm of Osborn Group, he will be devoured by others without a bone left. You are his best friend, promise me. Blood has begun to spurt out of Norman's mouth. I promise you, Mr. Norman. Leegee hesitated for a moment, and finally agreed to Norman's request before he died. After Leegee said this, Norman seemed to have put down all his burdens, smiled and lost his last vitality. Leegee held Norman's body with difficulty and moved forward slowly. Norman was right. He was not a good man. He could even be said to be a bad guy who committed serious crimes. Just those inhumane experiments were enough to send him to the electric chair. But he was a good father. Everything he did was for Harry. Leegee believed this completely. He's dead. Peter said in a low tone. Yes, he's dead, but we're still alive. We still have a lot to do. Leegee looked around and didn't see the Green Goblin's mask. But since he couldn't find it, he didn't want to look for it anymore. The wizards left, and the mirror wall began to descend. Tony, who was severely hit, drove the armor away without saying hello. The people of the Innocent Society were cleaning up the mess left by the Hand and the Society. Iron Fist and White Tiger were both injured and taken away by Luke Cage. Now only Peter and Leegee, as well as Frank who had just come up, were left in the castle tower. Let's go, the police are coming soon. Damon and Mike are waiting for them downstairs. Frank didn't ask whose body Leegee held. Norman's body was no longer recognizable. The demon's energy had eroded him, and his face had been completely deformed. Who would have thought that he was the leader of the Osborn Group? The huge flaming bats had retreated from the SHIELD aircraft carrier over New York. When the energy of the Ancient One broke through time and space and descended here, the old man had already fled. Deacon Firth, who was frightened by the huge magical energy, also ran away with the old man. Only the broken SHIELD sky carrier was left. This battle was not in Nick Fury's plan. The flaming bats came too fast, so fast that SHIELD had no time to react. The losses in this battle were heavy, with more than 25 fighter planes crashing. More than 200 SHIELD staff were injured, and more than 30 died. All of this was out of Nick's control. Director, Deacon Firth has escaped from his prison. Hill brought him another piece of bad news. They just found out that Deacon Firth had escaped from prison. Contact the Security Council, we need to move our plan forward. Nick Fury looked at the wrecked helicarrier, his tone more gloomy than ever before. Chapter 140 Harry's Sorrow. There has been a big commotion in New York these days. I don't know what happened in Hell's Kitchen. The TV said that there were supernatural phenomena, but the authorities have been refuting the rumors. However, gossips are flying all over the internet. Some people said that they saw Nightwalker and Spider-Man leading a large group of ninjas to fight with another group of ninjas, and there were also demons from hell. It seems to be true, but no one can produce any evidence. The media are all speculating, and the authorities have been keeping their mouths shut. No one knows what the real truth is. Harry's in a bad mood today. I don't know why, as if something is stuck in his heart. This makes him feel very uncomfortable. And Harry hasn't seen his father or his two best friends these days. He doesn't know who to talk to about his unhappiness. And now he has to meet a shitty lawyer, which makes him feel even more uncomfortable. Hello, Mr. Harry Osborn. My name is Norn, and I am the attorney previously appointed by Mr. Norman. A white man with gold-rimmed glasses, he is dressed elegantly. He looked like a lawyer who specialized in handling lawsuits for wealthy people in a high-rise building in Manhattan. If you're looking for my father, I'm sorry he's not here at the moment. Harry thought the lawyer was looking for Norman, so he told him directly and clearly that he didn't know where his father was. No, Mr. Harry. I'm not looking for Mr. Norman. The lawyer named Norn pushed his glasses and said with a smile. It's like this, your father, Mr. Norman Osborn. He had previously executed a special agreement in this law firm. He was supposed to provide us with a designated special password every day through a special iris text message. Norman said as he opened his briefcase. In the agreement, as long as Mr. Norman does not provide us with the agreement password within 3 days, the agreement will automatically take effect. Norman took out a stack of documents. It contains the transfer of all of Mr. Norman's property rights, including all of his shares in the Osborn Group, as well as bank deposits and patent authorizations. It also includes this Osborne Manor and several other overseas manors. And a winery in Spain. Norton smiled and handed all the documents to Harry. What do you mean? Harry's mind suddenly jumped, and a very bad premonition rose from his heart. In short, Mr. Harry. This is a will of Mr. Norman. Norton said the answer that Harry least wanted to get. Mr. Norman had been seriously ill before, so he felt that he could not live long in the world, so he made this will. Norman explained. You are talking nonsense. Harry said angrily. My father's disease has been cured. He can't die so easily. I know you may not believe it, but this is indeed the agreement made by Mr. Norman before. Norton was not going to argue with Harry. After all, this young man who just turned 18 will become the richest guy in the world. He has become one of the top richest people in the world. Whether he is happy or not, willing or not, this is a fact. Speaking of which, Norton really envies Harry, who has become a world-class rich man so easily. Mr. Harry, these are all the agreement documents signed by Mr. Norman, as well as a letter left behind. I am handing them over to you. Norman took out everything from the suitcase and placed them on the desk of Harry's table. As long as you sign these agreements, all of them will take effect. My condolences. Norman put down all the things and simply said a polite word. Then he left here. Anyway, his work was done. The commission for Norman's will was as high as $8 million, which was exciting enough. Even if Harry was not interested in him, he didn't care. After saying this, he nodded to Harry and left Osborne's mansion regardless of Harry's reaction. Harry sat behind his desk in a daze. Dead? My father Norman Osborne died? It was simply ridiculous. Harry responded with a completely unbelievable attitude, but his hands couldn't help but tremble as he opened the letter left by Norman. Harry, when you see this letter, I think I have left you. Please don't be too sad, child. I know you have a lot of questions. I have put all your questions in my private study. There, all your questions can be answered. About the disease in our family and the solution to it. I can't reveal too much. Harry has a long way to go. You need to start learning to complete the long journey by yourself. Try to rely on your friends. They will help you through the difficulties when you need them. Harry didn't know how he finished reading this letter. The letter was very short, but when he came to his senses, it was already dark. He locked himself in his father's private study. The servants didn't dare to disturb him. He only turned on a disc lamp on the desk, and his head was hanging low. His shoulders were shaking, as if he was sobbing. He recognized that the letter was written by Norman. The lawyer didn't lie to him. How could this happen? A person he had never met suddenly came to his house and told Harry that his father was dead. And he didn't even know where the body was. He couldn't believe it. The dim study was very quiet, with only Harry's low sobs. Harry. A sudden voice broke the silence. Harry looked up and saw two people he often saw on TV and in the news. Nightwalker and Spider-Man, with a man on their backs, wearing green armor. How did you get in? Harry remembered that there was a revolver in the drawer of the desk, so he found it and pointed it at the two uninvited guests. No, don't do that. We have no ill intentions. Spider-Man raised his hands to indicate that he was kind. What do you want to do? This is private territory. Harry's mental state is not very stable now. Peter, take off your mask. Luigi took off his hood and revealed his face. Then it was Spider-Man Peter Parker. What? Harry was a little stimulated today. Previously, it was because of his father's sudden death in an accident, and what was going on now? His two good friends suddenly became superheroes on TV? Harry felt a little overwhelmed. What tricks are you playing? We are not playing any tricks. Luigi tried to soften his tone. Because there are things I have to tell you, Harry. Luigi put down the person he was carrying on his back. This was Norman Osborn. After being eroded by the power of the devil, his body did not begin to rot after these few days. Instead, it remained in a relatively intact state. Luigi and Peter tried to remove the devil features on Norman's face these days. They also tried to restore Norman's original appearance with makeup, but the effect was not very good. However, Harry still recognized who it was when he came to the corpse. There was an unbelievable look in his eyes, and he looked at Luigi and Peter with a puzzled look. Luigi knew what Harry wanted to ask, and he had already prepared his words. Chapter 141 Lies and Funerals. I'm sorry, Harry, we couldn't save your father. Luigi was the first to speak to Harry's puzzled eyes. Harry was very emotional. He grabbed Li Ji's collar and shouted. "Tell me what happened. What happened to you? Don't get excited, Harry. Don't get excited." Li Ji patted Harry's hand, signaling him not to get too excited. "I believe you have seen the news these days, about Hell's Kitchen." "Yes, I saw it. You went to show your power and killed a group of ninjas." But what does this have to do with my father?" Harry's tone was still not very calm. "Because the Hand and the Society planned to revive an evil god named Beast." Li Ji continued. "And the Beast was possessed by Peter at that time. Uncle Norman, his original life was about to end because of the genetic disease in your family. But he couldn't let you go, so you signed a contract with a demon to prolong his life?" "This is impossible." Harry shook his head. He didn't dare to believe that there were demons in this world, and he didn't believe that his father would sign a contract with a demon. "Listen to me." Li Ji signaled Harry to continue listening to him. "Everything he did was to be able to research an antidote to the virus in your body. The devil forced Uncle Norman to do things he didn't want to do, such as killing Peter." Li Ji's words now contained a lie. When it comes to lying, the hardest thing to uncover is those half-truths. Because the devil craves the power of the beast. This is Li Ji's own inference, but it is indeed true by accident. Uncle Norman was forced to become the devil's claws under the devil's drive. Harry looked at Norman's body on the ground and couldn't help kneeling beside him and crying. But he was unwilling to become the devil's claws. He resisted the devil's control. He tried to break free from the devil's shackles and helped us kill the evil beast. At this point, Peter couldn't help but turn his back. Lying is not something he is good at all. He is afraid of revealing flaws. Although he didn't particularly agree with the statement when Li Ji first discussed it with him. But Peter didn't have a better idea. And since Norman is dead, there is no need to pursue many things, otherwise how to face Harry in the future? Li Ji ignored Peter's actions and continued to talk. "Then the demon found out, and the demon came to Earth. So you want to tell me that my father was killed by the demon?" Harry's tone was still unconvinced, but he was no longer as resistant as at the beginning. "Yes, Uncle Norman resisted the demon. He didn't want to be the demon's puppet." Li Ji tried his best to make his face expressionless, so as to increase credibility. "In the end, he was killed by the demon. We are no match for the demon, and we can only watch him leave the Earth." Among the people present at the time, the only one who knew that the Green Goblin was Norman Osborn was probably Li Ji, so this lie was not so easy to expose. Harry probably couldn't find the people of the Supreme Sorcerer to verify what happened at the time, because they came and went without a trace. The only other person who witnessed a battle at the time was Iron Man Tony Stark. The Osborn Group and Stark Industries Group are in a competitive relationship. And at that time, Iron Man didn't know that the Green Goblin was Norman Osborn, and Harry probably wouldn't ask him. As long as these two groups of people don't say it, then only Peter and Li Ji know the truth at the scene. Now that Peter doesn't speak, then Li Ji will say whatever he says. Li Ji didn't know whether this was right or wrong. He didn't want Harry to bear the heavy burden of his father being a demon. He and Peter were afraid that the truth would make Harry collapse. They chose to cover up the truth with lies. Maybe they would tell Harry the truth slowly later, but not now. Seeing Harry crying while holding Norman's body, neither of them dared to say anything more. "If what you said is true, then I will be irreconcilable with all demons." Harry gritted his teeth and said with deep sadness in his anger. The weather was not very good on the day of Norman Osborn's burial. New York welcomed the first snow in November. On the day of the funeral, small snowflakes fell from the sky. Peter, Harry and Li Ji were all pallbearers. Another one was a middle-aged man who was a distant relative of the Osborn family and had a good relationship with Norman. It was Harry's request that Peter and Li Ji become pallbearers, and they could not refuse this request. Especially at such a vulnerable moment for Harry. When the last white rose was thrown into the grave, Harry began to shovel the first shovel of soil. The brown soil slowly covered a black coffin. This is the private mausoleum of the Osborn family. Harry did not stop from the first shovel of soil to the last shovel of soil. Now New York has officially entered winter, and he was sweating profusely in the cold outdoors. He was about to be the farewell of Norman Osborn's last journey, and he didn't care no matter how hard it was. "Harry, take a break." When Harry covered the last piece of soil, only Li Ji and Peter were left waiting for him in the biting cold wind. The other workers began to do the final processing work, and Harry had no way to help with this part, so Li Ji forcibly dragged him away. Thank you for staying with me." Harry's eyes were a little red, And he didn't know if it was because he had been blown by the cold wind for a long time, or for other reasons. Don't be silly, we are good brothers. Peter gave Harry a hug, and then Luigi hugged Harry and patted his back. Cheer up, Harry, you still have a huge business empire to manage. Don't let your father's hard work go to waste. Luigi gestured to Harry to cheer up. Norman may have prepared a way out long ago. Janelin's experiment in the Osborn group did not escape Norman's surveillance. But Norman let it go, because this set of gene sequences was exactly the antidote he had been dreaming of. He knew that unless he used special methods, he would probably find it difficult to get rid of Stannis's control over him. So he had paved the way for Harry long ago, and all the previous secret experiments were destroyed by him. All the data were deleted. He removed all the stains that might damage the Osborn group, because he knew that Harry was not him, and Harry could not play so many tricks, at least not now. He was still too young and needed more experience. Norman only left the successful gene sequence part, and also indicated in the letter that he needed to seek help from 2 friends. Because he knew that neither Luigi nor Peter would refuse Harry's request at this time, and they would definitely help Harry. Don't blame me for repeating the same old tune, Jason. I need your help, and I want to hire you as my special consultant. I can't handle those guys on the board alone. Harry cheered up and mentioned the invitation again. Luigi struggled a little inside. Well, I promised your father that I would help you. But I don't want to do it full-time, you know. Occasionally doing consulting or something is fine. Thanks, buddy. Harry punched Luigi's shoulder lightly, thanking Luigi for his support in this way. And your brothers, thank you. Harry also hit Peter's shoulder. Oh, don't be too intimate. I still have Gwen, don't you want to go see Mary Jane? She was almost crying outside just now, and I was the one who persuaded her to go back first. Peter said with a smile. Chapter 142 Hit Girl in the comics. In the Nightwalker's base, everyone was exhausted by the previous battle. Especially Luigi and Peter, who had to deal with a series of things such as Norman's funeral. The two were so busy that they had not had a good rest these days. The only good news was that the government seemed to be deliberately suppressing the news, and from Frank's understanding, it seemed that something big had happened at S.H.I.E.L.D. There was no time to split up to manage the affairs of the Hand and the Society. After the funeral, the two really had time to rest. Now Luigi and Peter have become accustomed to using the base as a place to relax and have fun. When they are unhappy, they can play games here or fight to vent. These days, Luigi wanted to find Iron Fist to ask him if he could teach him more about the use of ki, or a systematic training method. However, Iron Fist has been inexplicably busy recently and has no time for the time being. Luigi couldn't chase after others to ask about these things, so he could only stop for the time being. The reputation value gained from the Battle of the Hand and the Society was not high, but because Luigi killed the beast, the system extracted the beast's genes and put them in Luigi's special item list. It seems that if you want to get some special genes, you can only kill them, except for capturing them directly. This makes Luigi feel very cheated. Originally, I thought that if the special points are very useful in the future, I might find some mutants or aliens to draw some blood and get some genes. Now it seems that this idea can only be abandoned. However, Luigi recently discovered something strange. Because this battle took place in the mirror space, there should be few people who know about it. According to Reason, the reputation points he has obtained are also very small, but his reputation points have been rising recently. Although not much, they are very stable. What the hell is this? Luigi is using the computer in the base to check the website of the Nightwalker Alliance, but there is no special news on the website recently. After checking other websites, there is still nothing, which is strange. Hey, what are you looking at? Mindy suddenly burst out from behind Luigi and said by holding his neck. Just reading the news. Luigi did not explain what he was doing. Oh, let me go for a while. I want to read comics. Mindy said and wanted to drive Luigi out of his seat. Aren't there computers over there? Luigi pointed to other computers nearby. No, Zheng Chu said he has a use for those computers, and he wants to test new hacking programs or something. Mindy said as she pulled Luigi out of his seat. Well, since he can't beat this little girl, he can only give her his seat. Luigi could only go to Peter to chat depressedly. Everyone was at the base today, and no one wanted to go out because they were too tired. Even Frank was just sharpening his dagger in the base. Damon and Mike were playing chess. Peter was playing Ridge Racing. What do you think about that matter? Peter asked in a low voice when he saw Luigi coming over. The matter Peter was talking about was Harry. Because of Norman's death, Harry now has no good feelings towards all kinds of gods, demons and monsters. He hopes to join Luigi's team, even if it's just as an investor. He is willing to pay a lot of money to hire someone to kill those weird gods, demons and monsters. I haven't thought about it yet. You know we are very risky. Luigi didn't say yes or no immediately. I know his father's death was a big shock to him. But if you join rashly, he might be blinded by anger and do something irrational in the end. Peter played the game loudly, so only they could hear their whispers. But do you remember what you taught me at that time? Peter controlled the cart to play a beautiful drift. If it weren't for your guidance, I might have gone astray now. I think he needs your guidance now, at least to get on the right track. Even if it's a temporary joining, you have a way to guide others. Peter's car rushed across the finish line, but he didn't look at the screen, but looked at Luigi very seriously. Luigi took a deep breath and finally said slowly, "Well, maybe we should give it a try. I know you can do it, man. You are the most thoughtful among the three of us." Peter smiled and handed Luigi a game controller. "Do you dare to play a game with me, buddy? Come on, I'll give you 3 seconds." Luigi smiled and took the controller. "Be careful or you'll cry, big liar." While Luigi and Peter were playing games, Zhengchu just walked to the computer desk to test a new hacking program. Mindy was so absorbed in reading comics that she didn't notice him coming over. Zhengchu accidentally glanced at the comics Mindy was reading, and suddenly screamed loudly, "Mindy, what are you reading?" The sound was just like the reaction of a beautiful girl meeting a pervert, and the whole base could hear it. "SHH, keep your voice down." Mindy immediately turned off the computer and warned Zhengchu to keep her voice down with her mouth. But the warning was too late, and everyone in the base rushed over. As the only underage girl in the team and the mascot, Mindy enjoyed supernational treatment in the team. Frank and Big Daddy were the first to arrive, followed by Luigi, Peter and Mike. "What happened just now, hacker?" It was Damon who asked. "Nothing, Big Daddy, I just had a computer crash while reading comics." Mindy smiled, but she was probably lying. "Really?" Damon asked with some confusion. "Really?" Mindy answered with certainty. This little lie might be able to deceive Damon. He was indeed a little careless with his daughter, which could be seen from his education of Hint Girl. But Frank didn't buy it. He had a little daughter who was the same age as Mindy. He could tell at a glance whether such a little girl was lying. He asked Zhengchu suspiciously, "Is it true?" Mindy kicked Zhengchu with her foot without leaving a trace, and the little fat boy reacted and said, "Yes, it's true." Well, Zhengchu would never lie. Frank stared at Zhengchu with sharp eyes and said, "Turn on the computer and restore the data just now." Frank's love for Mindy is like another father. He poured all his love for his original daughter into this little girl of the same age as his daughter. Maybe it was because they were both blonde girls. Frank's words were very serious. Zhengchu knew that Frank was not joking. He didn't have the courage to play tricks with a Punisher. Mindy looked up at the sky as if she was going to see God. She knew that everything was over now. "I just hope there won't be corporal punishment later. That's all." Zhengchu turned on the computer and restored the website interface that Mindy was looking at before. Frank and Big Daddy were furious when they saw the picture above. Well, Mindy was indeed reading comics. It is normal for children to read comics, especially superhero comics. Frank and Big Daddy never care about these things, but it is not normal for a 12-year-old girl to read superhero BL comics. The interface of this comic website is a story of a pair of male superheroes in love and hate. Everyone is familiar with the people in the comics. They are Nightcrawler and Spider-Man. The two are doing shameful things. And this is the comic that Mindy just read. What the hell is this? Peter forced himself to hold back the urge to curse. He was dumbfounded when he saw the content on the website. Luigi was also a little dumbfounded. What the hell is this? Exclamation mark. When did he become the protagonist of a rotten girl comic? Hey, this is not right. The artist, you got the wrong style. Shouldn't I make it a superhero comic, and then the kind that is handsome and cool? Spider-Man, you're the one who taught Mindy to read comics, aren't you? Frank and Big Daddy suddenly remembered who is the one who taught Mindy to read comics online in the first place. Wait a minute, guys. Let me explain. I just let her read Hyperion, Man of Steel and Hyperion vs. Nightcrawler. Their moms are all named Martha. Peter shook his hand to prove his innocence. I definitely didn't let Mindy watch anything that's inappropriate for her age. But Peter's defense seemed to be of no use. Li Ji had already heard the sound of a bullet being loaded. So what do you think, Nightcrawler? Damon smiled and looked at Li Ji, but why did this smile look so sinister? Hey, it's none of my business. I'm innocent. There was another sound of a pistol being loaded. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 New Financial Growth Point. When all the conflicts were over, Li Ji and Peter were each applying an ice pack. Well, this was because they had just hit the wall to prevent damage to the machinery and equipment during the fight. This small-scale conflict caused the write-off of 2 pistols, the complete scrapping of a computer, and the damage of the rocker arm of a lathe. Frank and Damon loved their daughter very much, and were really overwhelmed by the screen on the computer at that time. After calming down, they apologized to Li Ji and Peter. For this, the two really couldn't say anything, and could only stare at Mindy with murderous eyes. The core point of the conflict, Hit Girl Mindy, is now standing in front of the conference table where everyone is meeting. Now it is the beginning of the 3-court trial, a meeting about correcting Hit Girl's 3 views and the protection of minors. I mean, guys, can you not be so serious? Mindy's smile is particularly beautiful, with a beautiful little white teeth and 2 dimples. But at this time, the trick of acting cute is useless. Everyone is very angry, and the consequences are serious. Be serious, Mindy. Li Ji knocked on the table, signaling Hit Girl to stop smiling. Hey, you have to know. I didn't look at it on purpose. This website popped up automatically. Mindy argued. Frank stared at Zheng Chu with his eyes, and the fat man immediately said, according to previous browsing records, this computer has opened this website 30 times, and the average browsing time is more than 20 minutes. Mindy immediately wilted in front of the truth. So what the hell is this website? Peter shuddered when he thought of the scene of being chased by the 2 old men just now, and suddenly he also hated this website. I checked, this is a private website. It's an artist with a pen named Pure White. Zheng Chu said the information he found. Drawing this kind of thing, the pen name can also be called Pure White? Li Ji felt that it was difficult to describe his current mood. In addition to you, this artist has created many other fan paintings. For example, the story of Iron Man and the 3 kidnappers. Zheng Chu continued. There are also paintings about the love story between Captain America and Hitler, and Captain America fighting against the enemy because he couldn't get Hitler's love, and so on. Puff. Peter and Frank were drinking water, and they couldn't help but spray out the water when they heard the news. This is slandering my idol. Peter was very angry, and even Frank had a weird expression on his face, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't say it. Well, the painter was once convicted of slandering a national hero because of this incident, but because he was not an adult, the judge only sentenced him to 40 hours of community service. It seems that this is a repeat offender. And the most popular works of this painter recently are the Nightcrawler and Spider-Man series. This series has received more than 300,000 views. Li Ji didn't even realize that he had already used his internal energy, and his fingers had left fingerprints on the steel conference table. A lifetime of fame has gone to waste. Wait, Li Ji seemed to have thought of something. His reputation value seems to have been rising recently, although not much, but very stable. Is it because of this ghost comic? Exclamation mark. Li Ji's expression was indescribable, as if he was forced to eat a disgusting food. So Mindy, do you have anything else to say? Damon listened to Zheng Chu's information quietly, and then looked at Mindy with a judge-like expression and tone. It seemed that as long as Mindy had nothing to say, he would immediately make a closing statement. Hit Girl's face wrinkled into a ball, and then suddenly she seemed to think of something and ran away quickly, talking as she ran. Wait a minute, I'll be back soon, and you'll know soon. Hit Girl Mindy has always had a high IQ, and I don't know what trick she came up with this time. When she came back again, she was holding a 1/6 scale Captain America model in her hand. This model was Zheng Chu's private collection. The high-quality model series produced by the model manufacturer Hot Toys. The price of a model is $200 or $300, and because it is out of stock, the market price is often much higher than the official price. Oh, Mindy, be careful. I spent more than $300 to buy this model, and now it's out of stock. Zheng Chu saw Mindy running over with her beloved Captain America model, and said with some concern, "This model is not only Zheng Chu, but Peter also likes it, but it is too expensive. Peter's financial strength cannot afford this hobby." Mindy ignored Zheng Chu's wailing and put the model on the table directly. It made a light snapping sound, and Zheng Chu's tears almost flowed out. "Gentlemen, this is my reason." Mindy's mouth corners were raised high. "What?" Damon had no idea what Mindy wanted to say. "Gentlemen, haven't you noticed? As a team, especially a heroic team fighting criminals, our financial situation has always been worrying." Mindy's tone was very distressed. Frank glanced at Li Ji. "Did you teach her these words?" Li Ji shrugged. He just made up a few words while watching the news. Mindy ignored the communication between Li Ji and Frank and continued. "Of course, robbing gangs has always been an important source of our finances. But now the gangs are getting less and less money." Mindy's tone was just like the Mountain King that Li Ji had seen on TV in his previous life. Especially after Nightcrawler provided a large number of technological drawings, although we got a grant from Tony Stark through extortion. Li Ji knocked on the table to indicate that it was not extortion. "Well, no matter how it was obtained, this is not a long-term plan. We may need a new financial growth point." Mindy slapped the table, quite imposing. The adults opposite were shocked. "A stable and normal financial growth point can provide us with financial support for a long time." Li Ji touched his chin, and suddenly seemed to understand what Mindy was going to say. He said in a very playful tone, "So you are testing the market first?" "Market? That's right. I am testing the market." Mindy clapped his hands to indicate that Li Ji was right. "Hacker, can you tell us how much you spent on this model?" "About $360. What's wrong?" Zheng Chu still didn't know what Mindy wanted to say. "Gentlemen, did you hear that? This pile of resin can be sold for $360, which is enough to buy a small pistol for women's protection." Mindy's tone was very excited, as if she was canvassing for votes in an election. "Captain America, this is an old guy from 70 years ago. He's out of date," Mindy said as she pushed the model on the table, and the model of Captain America fell directly. Zheng Chu caught the model and said excitedly, "Be careful." Mindy ignored Zheng Chu's complaints, but walked behind Li Ji and Peter and hugged their necks. "Now, everyone. These two are the most popular superhero idols. We can build them. Nightwalker and Spider-Man are so great. We can publish their comics, games, DVD radio dramas, and novels. As long as we get the copyright, we can adapt them into big movies in the future." Mindy became more and more excited. "Then we can sell peripherals, model toys, commemorative badges and t-shirts. You have to know that fans' money is the easiest to cheat. Oh no, it's the easiest to make money. They are willing to spend $39 to buy a t-shirt with their idol printed on it, even if the quality is no different from the ordinary ones that cost $9. Mindy said, feeling like she was about to laugh. "And our first step is to create our own copyright. We should start right away. We should find a lawyer, apply for a patent first, and then find an artist to tailor their own superhero comics for them." "So, the artist you found for us is the one called Chunbei." Li Ji's tone seemed to be smiling, but why did Mindy feel a chill on her back? "Huh? Why did I go around in a big circle and seem to have come back again? I thanked all the book friends for their support for the release of the book yesterday. Because there were too many people, and the word count is now charged, I won't thank them one by one. Thank you all." Chapter 144. I work hard to change the world. Although everyone expressed that they could not accept the comics that Mindy read, everyone still felt that Mindy's proposal made sense. However, how to obtain the copyright became a problem. He certainly could not go to the court with a mask on to apply for it himself, and he had to produce various identification documents. However, Li Ji was very interested in this matter because he found out that if he published comics or even movies as Nightcrawler, even if he was not personally involved, he could still gain reputation, which was actually very cost-effective. Because many of the actions he participated in were actually carried out in secret, such as the Hand in Society incident this time, and the Blood Farm incident last time. Obviously, he put in a lot of effort and solved a lot of problems, but his popularity was still very low. Mindy's suggestion was away, and the others said that they had no interest in participating in such things, and now the star members of the team were Nightcrawler and Spider-Man. The other three old men were too low-key, and they didn't wear particularly cool tights or anything like that. They were more accustomed to giving people fatal blows in the dark like venomous snakes. Although the team really needed people like them who were willing to do dirty work, it was obvious that it would be difficult to make them stars. A slightly absurd idea was born in Lee Ji's mind. It was almost the end of November, and the winter vacation of Metropolitan High School would come soon. The weather in New York was already very cold, and pedestrians on the road began to wrap themselves in thick winter clothes. To be honest, I don't think this is a good idea. Peter was wearing a gray windbreaker and holding a cup of hot coffee. His nose was a little red from the cold. But I think this idea is not bad. Lee Ji ignored Peter's words and continued to stride forward. Think about it, this can change the embarrassing financial situation of our team. We can't always rob the gangs, and aren't you always against the gangs eating the gangs? The direction of the two people's progress was the Osborne Group. Now Harry has officially become the chairman of the Osborne Group. Although the road ahead is full of difficulties, Harry at least has a trustworthy friend by his side to give him advice. Lee Ji has been officially hired as Harry's personal consultant. Although it is not full-time, he also has a salary. Since he promised to help Harry, Lee Ji will naturally take time to come to the Osborne Group to listen to Harry's ideas, analyze the problems of various events for him. The two of them stepped into the Osborne Group building together. The pretty female receptionist at the front desk stood up and said to Lee Ji, "Good morning, Mr. Jason." "Good morning, Susan. Your bow tie is really beautiful today." Lee Ji said a greeting. "Please give me a guest card." The guest card was for Peter. Harry originally wanted Peter to be a half full-time researcher like Gwen. But Peter is now too busy to do anything. The courses in the last semester of high school will be very tight. Even Gwen has thought about whether to resign. What's more, Peter Parker, who also has the identity of Spider-Man, has even less time to come here to work. But Peter agreed that he would have more free time after going to college, and he was willing to work in the Osborne Group's research laboratory for an internship. After all, in the laboratories of such a large company, you can learn a lot of things that cannot be taught in school. I still think this is too embarrassing. Do I really have to show it to Harry? Peter lowered his voice and found that there were many people coming and going in the building. It doesn't matter. He will laugh at us at most. But it will be good for our future development. Sometimes being a superhero requires not only a righteous heart and superpowers, but also a thick skin. Lee Ji patted Peter on the shoulder. The elevator came. Lee Ji and Peter stepped into the elevator and prepared to go to the office floor where Harry was. Wait. A man holding a pile of drawings was rushing towards the elevator quickly. A middle-aged man with black-framed glasses and a bent greasy hair standing in the elevator ignored this man and pressed the door-closing button to block the people outside. Lee Ji frowned and stretched out his hand to block the sensor at the elevator door. "I don't think everyone in our elevator is in such a hurry, sir." Lee Ji was 1.85 meters taller than the middle-aged man. Being stared at by such a strong man like Lee Ji made the middle-aged man dare not say anything. Moreover, he took a look at Lee Ji's badge, which belonged to the senior management department. Although he didn't know what Lee Ji's real position was, he still didn't want to go against Lee Ji. "I'm sorry, I don't think I heard it." The middle-aged man's defense was weak, but Lee Ji didn't bother to care about him. Thank you for waiting for me." The guy holding a bunch of drawings finally caught up with the elevator. The drawings he was holding looked like pipelines. He seemed to be a technician responsible for the layout of water and electricity pipelines in the building. "You're welcome." Lee Ji nodded slightly to him and didn't want to say anything else, because he was thinking about other things. The technician seemed to want to say something, but he saw Lee Ji's badge representing his identity, and Lee Ji didn't seem to want to continue the conversation, so he had to shut up. When the elevator drove to the chairman's office on the top floor, only Lee Ji and Harry were in the elevator. This huge office on the top floor originally belonged to Norman Osborn, but now it belongs to Harry. Lee Ji greeted Harry's personal secretary and went straight into the office knowing that Harry was free now. "Wow, isn't this my personal consultant? Did you remember to help your boss today?" Harry looked very busy and was looking down at the documents. There was a little resentment in his tone. "You are so lucky. You have plenty of time to go out and have fun every day. I am so busy now that I don't even have time to date Mary." It seems that the new chairman of the board has not yet fully adapted to his job. "Don't say that, my chairman. You now hold tremendous power. Your signature can change the lives of millions of people." Luigi pulled out a chair and sat opposite Harry without hesitation. Peter couldn't say such a slightly flattering word. Peter has always been the one who complained. He could only greet Harry simply. "Well, when you say that, I suddenly feel that my work is very meaningful." Harry smiled and accepted Luigi's compliment. "I have something I want to ask your opinion on." After reading the document in his hand, Harry looked at Luigi seriously and said, "Stark Group is in trouble now. Congress requires them to hand over the manufacturing method of steel armor." Harry's tone was very serious. "Someone encouraged me to test the Stark Group together. What do you think?" Luigi curled his lips. "Let's not talk about the movies he watched in his previous life, because the world line has changed so much that even the screenwriter's mother can't recognize him." Just talking about Luigi's understanding of Tony Stark, he knew that Tony would never hand over such a thing. "Harry, do you know that I have another identity besides being your personal consultant?" Luigi asked. "Nightwalker." Harry smiled. "No, not such a superficial role." Luigi waved his hand. "It's Tony Stark's personal chef." "Hey man, I've never heard you say that." Peter and Harry were a little surprised. They knew that Luigi had been serving as a personal chef for a wealthy man, but they didn't know who it was. "Wow, then you will be the most outstanding commercial spy in the Osborn Group." Harry laughed. "I have a certain understanding of Tony. In fact, I believe we all know that reputation is more important to him than his life," Luigi said. "Just like how much money he spent to settle the matter at the in New York last time." When they said this, the three of them laughed. There can only be one Iron Man. Tony is a proud man. He can't let others have the same thing as him, especially when it is his favorite toy. Harry and Peter both nodded. "And I'm telling you the truth, I don't quite understand the purpose of those who encourage you to do this. In fact, the value of the Iron Man armor is overestimated. At least the current Iron Man armor is overestimated. It still has many weaknesses. Peter and I have fought with Tony, and its actual combat performance is not as impactful as its appearance." Peter nodded, indicating that Luigi was right. In fact, the real core of Tony Stark is still the arc reactor, which is the most important. Iron Man armor and so on, there is no need to compete with Tony. I think the Green Goblin armor originally designed by Uncle Norman is very good. Luigi thought of the battle that day. Apart from the part that was eroded by the demonic power, Norman's own armor design is also excellent. Although it is not as versatile as the Iron Man armor, it is relatively easier to operate in terms of price and operation. Don't forget that the armor of the MK series must be assisted by Jarvis's artificial intelligence system. Otherwise, ordinary people's reaction nerves alone cannot really operate the Iron Man armor. Maybe Tony will compromise and give the US military some Iron Man armor, but it is unrealistic to expect him to fully disclose the blueprints. In fact, it is useless to disclose them. You should know that the elimination rate of technology is very fast. Maybe Moore's law of 3C products is also suitable for Iron Man armor. Luigi thought of Iron Man's huge family in the future. The new energy system studied by Tony will set off a revolution. This is inevitable. I believe someone must have mentioned it to you. Luigi was referring to the biopower generation system that the Osborn Group has been researching. The Osborn Group uses biopower generation to provide nearly 1/3 of the power generation in the greater New York area, but the technology of biopower generation is not very mature and has higher requirements. Therefore, this technology has not been widely promoted, and the new energy revolution led by Tony in the future will inevitably cause shocks all over the world. This is an unstoppable technological leap. Harry listened to Luigi's words very seriously, and he was also thinking about the group's next plan. "So I think the person who encouraged you to pressure the Stark Group to hand over the Iron Man armor blueprints is stupid, or he has other plans." Luigi pointed out the core point of this matter. If you spend a lot of group resources to do something and failed, or even if you succeeded, but the benefits you got were not as great as you imagined, Harry, where do you think you would be? "Oh my god, you're making it too complicated, Jason." Peter was very smart, but his intelligence was focused on scientific research. He had never delved into the intrigues between power. Harry broke the ballpoint pen in his hand unconsciously. You're right. If this is really the case, I'm afraid the board of directors will hold a new round of chairman elections. Harry stood up and paced, biting his lips slightly. Although in business, Stark Group and Osborn Group have always had overlapping competition, the two still maintain relative rationality, especially since Stark Group has now withdrawn from the field of weapons manufacturing. Leiji continued to analyze for Harry. There are actually only two areas where the Osborn Group and the Stark Group overlap and compete most fiercely. One is the new energy field, and the other is the military manufacturing field. At present, it can be said that we can't compete with Tony in the energy field. He is already the winner. It's only a matter of time before he is crowned the king of new energy. Harry, if you want to maintain the competitive advantage of the group, you should still focus on the military field. The withdrawal of the Stark Group has at least given up a big pie of tens of billions of dollars. Leiji has not mentioned his own affairs so far, but has wholeheartedly provided advice to Harry, because he knows that Harry needs support the most at this time. Yes, the person who encouraged me said so. He believes that after forcing Tony to disclose the drawings, we can use the relationship with the military to get a large order. Harry's tone was a little annoyed. Damn Cito. What a complete old bastard. I thought he was a good person. It seems that the person Harry cursed was the one who encouraged him to do this. As a large enterprise, the internal shareholders are not necessarily united. Even those you regard as relatives will betray you, just like Tony Stark and Abedia. So, Harry, it's a waste of time to spend your time and energy fighting for this kind of thing. Leiji shook his head. If Tony compromises with the military and then makes the blueprints public, then with the capabilities of the Osborn Group, they will definitely get the order, so you don't have to worry at all. Someone is deliberately setting a trap for you. Peter was a little confused, and he asked, "It's too complicated, can anyone explain it to me?" Harry took a deep breath and sat down and said, "To put it simply, an old bastard set a trap for me and asked me to force Tony to hand over the blueprints of the Iron Man armor. This will waste a lot of our group's connections and financial resources, and it may not succeed. And if I make this decision and fail, there is a high probability that the board of directors will be convened and I will be removed from my position. And Tony Stark, because of his own relationship, it is only a matter of time before he compromises with the military, but he will definitely have some reservations, and this time will be dragged on for a long time. They are using my anxious mood to achieve some results in the group to set a trap for me. Then after some people drove me out of office, they got the military production order after Tony compromised, and he will take my current position as a hero who saved the group. And then I'm afraid I can only work in Jason's restaurant. Hey, I don't think you should be that miserable." Peter now understood, so he smiled and said, "But working in Jason's restaurant is a good choice. You can try cutting onions and see how many tears you can shed. So Jason, do you have any good suggestions?" Harry smiled at Peter and asked Leiji again. "Wait?" Leiji smiled. The military couldn't have taken a fancy to anything else without Tony's explicit rejection. But when the military was really rejected, they would definitely demand a substitute. The Green Goblin armor may not be as good as the Iron Man armor, but I think the price is much cheaper, which is completely in line with the military's appetite. Instead of coveting Tony's Iron Man armor, it is better to improve the current Green Goblin armor. Harry, you can even meet Tony in an informal setting, especially with Miss Pepper, the new president of Stark Group. You can promise them that you will support their decision, or even withdraw from the competition for the new energy market, since we can't win this market anyway, in exchange for Tony's support for Osborn Group in front of the military. Mutual benefit, even Osborn Group and Stark Group can form a certain degree of tacit understanding. Leiji's words were very subtle, and he didn't say alliance or even cooperation. Because once companies of this level join forces, no government wants to see it. I know. Asking you to be my consultant is the wisest choice of my life." Harry laughed out loud, and seemed to be in a much better mood. "Do you need something to drink, guys?" Harry asked as he walked to the bar. "Raspberry juice, thank you." Leiji's mouth was dry after talking so much. Peter raised the hot coffee in his hand, indicating that he didn't need it. "Harry, I came to you today to help you solve the problem, but there is actually another thing," Leiji said after taking a sip of the juice Harry handed over. Peter suddenly looked very embarrassed, as if he wanted to hide himself. He curled up in the chair and didn't dare to watch what happened next. Leiji didn't care about him, but walked directly to Harry's side to ask if he could use the computer. After getting the nod, Leiji opened the website that Mindy had browsed before. He directly found the comics about Nightcrawler and Spider-Man and showed them to Harry. Harry didn't feel anything at first, but the more he looked at him, the more he felt something was wrong. Finally, after reading a comic, He looked at Lee Ji and Peter with a strange look in his eyes. Listen, men, I actually support the gay bill. If you need any help, I can support you. The Rainbow Bill is being discussed in Parliament. I can use the power of the Osborne Group to promote the progress of this bill. Although Harry said this, he unconsciously distanced himself from Lee Ji. Peter looked like he was about to die. He had known that this plan was bad. Now he wanted to find a place to hide. As Lee Ji said, Spider-Man still lacked a thick enough face on his way to becoming a superhero. No, you misunderstood. Lee Ji shook his head and wanted to put his hand on Harry's shoulder, but he dodged it without leaving a trace. I said, I'm not gay. Lee Ji said seriously. Really? Harry's expression was obviously unconvinced. To be honest, men, I don't discriminate against this. I can support you to go abroad to get married with money. Peter was about to get under the table. He roared in his heart, I knew this idea was terrible, it was really terrible. Listen to my explanation, Harry. I am serious about discussing a business plan. Lee Ji spoke in a very serious tone. Harry raised his eyebrows. What plan? Lee Ji took out the plan he had prepared and handed it to Harry. A plan to set up a superhero industry company. This will give our team a long-term source of finance. I said, I can fully support the operation of your team, money is not a problem. Harry did not open the plan immediately. This is different, Harry, you can't use the money of the Osborne Group to do these things. The superhero team is a bottomless pit. You can only see the input but not the output. Lee Ji explained. We need a way to maintain a balance between income and expenditure so that the entire team can operate efficiently for a long time. And if one day a team member has an accident, we can take out a sum of money as a pension. It may not be much, but it is a deserved reward for a hero who has made contributions to society. Lee Ji's tone was very serious. We can even reward those brave people, those ordinary heroes. Maybe they don't have superpowers, but they are still great in life. For example, Sister Marion is willing to spend all her money to adopt orphans. For example, I know a bakery owner who goes to the slums to distribute food every week. Their good deeds have been going on for decades. They are all heroes. Their good deeds make them different. These kind people should be rewarded. The world has become indifferent because there is no reward for doing good deeds, and it is also cruel because of indifference. Because of a cruelty, all kinds of tragedies in our world now have occurred. Peter and Harry are now listening to Lee Ji's speech very seriously. What we do should not be limited to a certain place, but we should take more actions. Maybe I am a little arrogant, but people need role models. We are born ordinary, and now we have the power to make a little contribution to the world. Maybe it's just a small step, but the important thing is not how much change we can make, but that we have done it. We are working hard to change this indifferent and cruel world. After Lee Ji's words fell, Harry and Peter's eyes flashed with an unspeakable belief. There is no more tonight, so don't wait. Chapter 145 Daredevil Lawyerma. The industrialization of superheroes is the most absurd but also the most realistic idea that Lee Ji has thought of. And even behind this idea, many extraordinary organizations can be derived. But now it is just the beginning, and all the ideas need more time to be realized. For the time being, Lee Ji put aside his other things and began to spend all his free time on this business. Everyone in the team, including the naughty hip girl Mindy, agreed with this plan. However, to realize such a thing, it is obvious that a more capable person must be supported behind the scenes, so Lee Ji thought of Harry from the beginning. As the chairman of a super multinational group, Harry Osborn can fully assume this responsibility. Harry was convinced by Lee Ji's speech. As Lee Ji said, this matter is not just as simple as making money, or even as simple as earning reputation for Lee Ji. Superhero comics are marketed all over the world, and Hyperion has become the most well-known superhero in the world. He is perfect and a model of morality. But a fictional and perfect hero always gives people an indescribable sense of isolation, as if he is a god, high above and untouchable. Nightcrawler and Spider-Man are real heroes in reality, and they are closer to ordinary people. Spider-Man or Nightcrawler. They are like a member of the ordinary people, especially the citizens of New York have a natural sense of closeness to them. The general structure of Lee Ji's superhero industrialization is actually very simple. He started to create the initial comics with the theme of the adventures he and Spider-Man and even the members of the team went on. The content of the comics can be interwoven with fiction and reality to form a heroic story that looks very real. Through marketing and sales, it creates popularity, and then sells peripheral products, and even adapts the story of movies and TV series to obtain more funds and popularity. After obtaining more money through the expansion of popularity, the company can include more heroes, because from the last time Iron Fist called for help or Luke Cage, the Power Man, who is in urgent need of money. In fact, many street heroes should be in a state of financial distress. For example, if Spider-Man had not been formed into a team by Lee Ji, he would have a relatively fixed logistical support. In the original work, Spider-Man's life was not very good, and even various equipment had to be exchanged at the garbage dump and second-hand store. There are many people in this world who may have various outstanding superpowers, but these superpowers sometimes cannot bring convenience in life or work. For example, the ability to emit flames all over the body. This ability can't actually help this person change any economic situation except working in an incinerator. The most important thing is that a person with destructive power, can he always stick to his own morality? If his family is in a financial crisis, and he can't change this situation by relying on normal work, will he take risks? This is the source of many super criminals. If they are willing to become a volunteer policeman, go to the streets to stop crime, and then Lee Ji's company will create their own hero comics. Return a certain amount of income to them. Are they willing to do more good for this society? After all, pure volunteer police are not everyone willing to do it. However, there are still many problems involved, and there are very complicated personnel, which requires Lee Ji and his team to consider more. This part of the idea can only be in the conception for the time being. Everything must be planned and established in the new company. After it starts to operate normally, the subsequent plan can be started. The new company will be funded by the Nightwalker team with $5 million. Most of this money is obtained by robbing the gang, and Harry will invest $5 million. The company started to operate with a total capital of $10 million. Jason was the legal person of the company, and the operation of the company was handed over to professional managers. Lee Ji and Peter actually did not have much time to manage the company, let alone Harry, who was too busy with his own company's affairs. So for the sake of insurance, the company needed a trustworthy legal supervision to prevent managers from embezzling company property. In fact, this kind of thing happened all over the world, and there were many cases of professional managers kicking out their bosses. Harry originally wanted to recommend the consulting lawyers of his company, but was rejected by Lee Ji. The first reason was that the fees of these lawyers were too high, and the other was that he needed more trustworthy people for his future plans. Today, Lee Ji came to find a trustworthy lawyer. After the last battle in Hell's Kitchen, everyone in the hand and the club had moved out. The first reason was that the last battle scared everyone, and the other reason was that Tony Stark acquired these properties. To be honest, Hell's Kitchen is not a very suitable place to live. The public security here is quite poor, and robberies and murders happen from time to time. It is difficult to find a lawyer in this place, because lawyers in the United States charge very high fees, and Hell's Kitchen is mainly inhabited by low-income people, and there are very few middle-income people. However, there are always people in this world who will stick to their ideals. Maybe not for money, nor for fame, but just for justice in their hearts. To help the innocent and to bring criminals to justice. Matt Murdock is such a person. He was born and raised in Hell's Kitchen. His father used to be a boxer. He is strong and powerful. He has knocked down his opponents again and again. Even if he is knocked down by his opponent, he will stand up quickly. Even if Matt's father loses the game, he never falls in the ring. He set an example for Matt's childhood, an example of a real man. In his youth, Matt has always been proud of his father. Even if he was blinded by nuclear waste pollution, he did not give up on himself. Because his father has been encouraging him, Matt would go to the boxing ring to watch his father's game every time. Even if he couldn't see it, he liked the sound of the audience cheering for his father. Until one day, his father won a game that he shouldn't have won. He won the game and set an example for his son, but he lost his life. The gangsters who were gambling outside were furious and killed Matt's father in an alley. Matt Murdock still remembers that it was a rainy night and he lost the last relative in the world. When he found his father, the blood had already dyed the alley red with the rain. Later, he met the Stick Man, and Matt Murdock was adopted by the Stick Man. The Stick Man adopted him and trained him at the same time, making Matt stronger and more powerful. Matt then studied law in college and became a lawyer after graduation, but he gradually discovered that many scumbags could not be brought to justice by law. So he made a set of devil costumes for himself, bright red and with devil horns, and he turned into Daredevil. At midnight, he was both a judge and a juror. He took care of all the work of a court and judged those guilty people underground. And the person Lee Ji is looking for today is his Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Lawyer Ma's law office is surprisingly simple. As a high-paid lawyer in the United States, there are not many who can get such a low-profile office. I don't know how Matt will end up in the legal profession, but Lee Ji is really scared by the simple office now. Welcome, do you need help? When Lee Ji was hesitating, a young man who looked very kind came over to chat. This was Matt Murdock's partner Fudge. I want to see lawyer Matt Murdock. Since he is already here, it is better to meet him. Since the last battle of the Hand and the Society, Lee Ji has actually been paying attention to Daredevil. Matt Murdock is still very handsome when he's not wearing a mask. A pair of sunglasses hides his defect of not being able to see. When Lee Ji came in, Matt actually knew who came. He has a special ability to identify a person by heartbeat and pulse. For Daredevil, there are no two people in the world with exactly the same heartbeat and pulse. Unless you can hide or change these characteristics of yourself, you will be recognized by him. Fudge, can I talk to him alone for a while? Matt didn't know why Lee Ji came to him. If there was something special, he didn't want to involve his good friend. Are you Nightwalker? Matt directly revealed Lee Ji's identity after Fudge left. This surprised Lee Ji a little, but since that was the case, he could have a frank talk. Yes, Daredevil, I have something to talk to you about. But how did you recognize me? Use this. Matt tapped his ear. If it's about the Hand and the Society, or other gangs that need my help, I think we'd better talk somewhere else. Matt thought Lee Ji had come to him to deal with some trouble. No, it's not those things. I'm looking for you purely for work. Lee Ji smiled and denied Matt's speculation. I usually don't take on cases of masked heroes. Matt frowned. I can't solve all your legal problems, especially those that have a very bad impact. It's not those. It's a very serious business legal case. I think you are a trustworthy person, so can you listen to my idea? Lee Ji began to state his new idea of superhero industrialization. In the establishment of a new company, Lee Ji hopes to bring more trustworthy people on board. Because only by working together can we go further. While Lee Ji was communicating with Matt, Nick Fury, who was far away in Washington, was also stating his idea. A great but perhaps dangerous idea was formally submitted to the Security Council by him. Chapter 146, Planned Ahead. In the office building of the National Security Council in Washington, D.C., Nick Fury was standing in the center of the meeting room with a serious face, surrounded by 12 members of the Security Council. Currently, S.H.I.E.L.D. is under special supervision of the Security Council, and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s budget and special bills are determined by this agency. Our world is under threat. This is Nick Fury's opening statement. As the most powerful country in the world, some officials did not comment on this statement. Nick ignored others and continued. Our world has always been under threat, I believe you all know it. There are many forces in this world that we cannot control, and some people can even easily destroy the earth. Nick's expression was very serious, and the only useful eye was flashing with a fierce light. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not exaggerating. Nick motioned everyone to listen to him carefully. Our world is facing many problems. There are many things we cannot explain and many unsolved mysteries we do not know. There is a trench that our best submarines cannot penetrate. Every time our submarines pull back from that trench, only a pile of scrap metal remains. The photos of the ruins sent back by the space agency from Saturn's satellite let us know that there was once an advanced civilization living there. What on earth did they suffer that caused an advanced civilization to disappear from the solar system? How brilliant and glorious their civilization was. Did they ever set foot on the Earth? Did they leave footprints on our planet? Those are all in the past. Maybe that civilization has disappeared for tens of millions of years. We should not worry about history. Maybe it was war or disease. These may cause the civilization to disappear. A member of the Security Council interrupted Nick's words. Yes, war or disease. What kind of war and what kind of disease? Nick suddenly said loudly. Is it a space war across the galaxy? Is it a terrible disease that can be transmitted in the universe? Nick's words sounded a bit alarmist. Everyone, we are not alone in the universe. There are not only suspicious extraterrestrial creatures, but even on Earth there are things we cannot understand. Nick emphasized. Are you talking about the incident where you were attacked by a giant bat and almost lost a sky carrier? Said an official. At the same time, a projection device the size of a USB flash drive was used to project the video on the wall. The video was the last time Nick Fury's shield was attacked by the flaming bat incarnated by Deacon Firth. Nick's face twitched a little. These things should not be taken by the Security Council. Director Nick, although I don't want to say this, it is obvious that you have concealed a lot of things from us, said the official who played the video. He looked very sharp, and although he was already gray-haired, he was still energetic. His words were sharp and pointed directly at Nick's weak points. SHIELD itself should be supervised by us, but Director Nick has exceeded your authority many times. We were not informed of the fake vampire Bible, and the subsequent battle with the flame bat was not reported to the Security Council. What else are you hiding? I heard that you found a magical little prop. Why didn't you report it to us? The old man's words were aggressive. Nick Fury looked around and found that many people were whispering. He said loudly, I have reported the vampire Bible to Mr. Bujuno, a member of the Security Council, and later to His Excellency the President. We all think that the fewer people who know about this, the better. As for the flame bat issue, I believe the report is on your desk, but we are all gathered here for a meeting today, and you don't have time to read it. As for the mysterious little prop you mentioned, forgive me for being frank. Maybe you should change your intelligence officer. The secrets of SHIELD are not something that anyone can spy on. Nick Fury said righteously. Okay, everyone, we are here to discuss, not to quarrel. Bujuno stood up to smooth things over. Please restrain yourself. Nick Fury should be the most competent commander of SHIELD in all these years. We should trust him. Bujuno's words were agreed by others, and the whispers quieted down. Please continue, Nick. Bujuno gestured to Nick to continue. Continuing with the previous topic, I think we need an extraordinary defense force to protect us. Nick finally got to the point. To solve some problems and enemies that cannot be solved by conventional means. The last time the Ten Rings kidnapped Tony Stark in New York, we lost face. The Ten Rings, who were beaten by the SHIELD in China, appeared on the streets of New York with swagger. I believe this incident will make the leader of the SHIELD, Sign, laugh at us for a whole year. The SHIELD has organized its own special team. We should also organize one to deal with emergencies. Nick's words made everyone present fall into a brief silence, because what Nick said was actually tried before. So what are your plans, Nick? Who are your candidates? A member of the Security Council asked. I have sent people to find Bruce Banner. I believe that we will get the news soon. Nick first said the first candidate. Tony Stark, his father was once the founder of SHIELD, and he has extraordinary talents, and the iron armor and rich knowledge reserves will make him another excellent candidate. And the excellent agents Hawkeye and Black Widow in SHIELD will also be included in this big list. Nick continued. But such power is not enough, it is still too weak. A member asked a question. What can these people do? Not just these people, we should expand the scale of our work. Gentlemen, it's time for us to put aside our prejudices. I propose to rebuild the X-Men. Nick's words were like a thunderbolt. No. Impossible. A voice shouted. You are crazy. Have you forgotten how much trouble they have caused? This was a female member, and her scream was just like someone stepped on her foot. No, absolutely not. Mutants are too dangerous. This was another old voice, with a kind of fear in his tone. Quiet, everyone, quiet. Nick Fury shouted loudly, signaling everyone to be quiet. You have to know that mutants are a threat, Nick Fury. The old man who had been questioning Nick just now spoke again. Don't forget, we once tried to form a mutant team. Yes, I know, the earliest X-Men, the Professor, the Beast and some others. Nick deliberately ignored some names. Others? Huh. Okay, even if it's others. The old man seemed a little angry, he thought he was teased. Don't forget what the Hellfire Club did, they provoked a war and almost destroyed the world. Along with the old man's roar, there were other people's voices of agreement. But don't forget that it was mutants who saved the war. Nick argued. Remember, it was Captain America who saved the war. This sentence was said by the blonde old man in a sonorous and powerful way. Mutants are just equal in merit and demerit. They are not worthy of being heroes. Nick Fury felt a deep sense of frustration. Even people in his position would still often feel powerless. In fact, It should be said that it is precisely because he is in this position that he is more likely to feel powerless and be constrained everywhere. Moreover, there are always countless eyes staring at him and countless evil wolves staring at his position. For example, the information just taken out by the old man clearly shows that there is a nail in shield, which almost puts Nick in a passive position. People in his position must have great faith and be firm in their hearts and not easily shaken. Otherwise, once there is a fluctuation in their hearts, it will inevitably cause the whole situation to rot. How could he not know that mutants are not so easy to control, especially in an era when the whole society resists mutants? The dangers of mutants are multifaceted. One kind is that they cannot control their own abilities, and there are the most such people. They always release their abilities unintentionally and hurt others. This makes many people stay away from mutants and begin to feel afraid and isolated. And it is the emergence of this emotion that makes the psychology of many mutants begin to distort, because they can't make friends easily. They can't even find a normal job. These situations make the social status of mutants even more embarrassing. And because there is no stable job. In order to survive, many mutants have embarked on the road of crime. And because of this problem, society is more distant and excluded from them. This has created a terrible vicious circle. The US government tried to use the power of mutants. They formed a secret team to fight against supernatural forces. But the ending was tragic, and because of this incident, a terrible mutant revolutionary leader and the mutant brotherhood led by him were born. Nick Fury's suggestion today was not a whim, but he really felt that he had too few trump cards in his hand, and more problems and pressures would be on him in the future. He was afraid that he would collapse if he couldn't control it well. He suddenly ended sign of the shield. The trump cards in his hand were much better than his own. At least the Chinese government allowed the formation of a mutant team. The X-Men can only be an extra staff organization, and they are not even an extra staff organization. They have to take the blame from time to time. Director Nick, we need to be more cautious about rebuilding the X-Men. Even Juno, who always supported Nick, spoke cautiously. You should open your eyes a little wider and try to find other candidates. Regarding the Avengers plan you submitted, we have temporarily approved it, but in the end you still need to submit a list of candidates. I understand. Nick's one-eyed face was a little unwilling. This world might be more dangerous than these people know. This is his intuition. My most important candidate needs to wait until there is progress in the exploration near the Arctic. The problem of mutants cannot be kept secret. When the conflict really breaks out, it may not be easy to end. In the original timeline, Nick would have more time. And the trump cards in his hand are more powerful. But because a certain butterfly keeps flapping its wings, the current world line is becoming more and more chaotic. Especially since this butterfly is getting stronger and stronger, which direction will he take the world to? Mr. President, should the new bill be publicly released as previously scheduled? The White House Secretary General asked the country's most powerful leader. Everything is going according to plan. Without any extra words, the president ordered. After leaving Matt's law firm, Li Ji felt that he had accomplished another great thing. Matt expressed his willingness to become the legal advisor of the new company. The winter sun shone warmly on his body, and Li Ji's steps became much lighter as he stepped on the slightly icy ground. Chapter 147, Bills Promoted. There is a group of warriors fighting on the underground front in this world. They fight for the safety of mankind. Today, all TV stations and news networks are broadcasting a piece of news. In the hidden world, there are many enemies unknown to mankind. They are vampires hiding in the dark. The ABC News anchor said in a serious tone. In conjunction with his words, there are also various pictures that keep switching on the TV, mainly some scenes that look like some commandos attacking certain places. In the places attacked by special police or soldiers, those people did not die after being shot but turned into ashes. All the above battle scenes are not computer CG production, but real war scenes. The camera cuts back to the ABC host, who is reporting with a serious face. Vampires really exist in our lives. The government's battle with vampires has lasted for hundreds of years. Because they are good at hiding and cunning and suspicious, our battle has never been smooth. In the secret war front, we have countless heroes sacrificed. The screen began to play some portraits of fallen soldiers, although it was not clear whether these people really died in the conflict with vampires. However, with the heroic BGM and the announcer's emotional recitation of the deeds, this scene still looks quite credible. Vampires seriously interfere with our lives, and even many innocent people have died in their claws. A scene began to play on the TV screen, but this scene was very familiar to the Nightwalker team. It was the scene in Lanka's blood farm at that time. The announcer began to continue the introduction. Our brave soldiers and special police have suffered heavy casualties in destroying the vampire's lair and rescuing kidnapped humans. The scene here began to change. The tree people in the blood farm had their frontal lobes removed and became vegetative. But in the picture, they seemed to have been simply kidnapped, then injected with hypnotic injections, and then the brave government special police and the army rushed in to fight the vampires. In the end, everyone was rescued, and the people rescued from the glass warehouse cried with joy, hugged the special police who came to rescue them and kept saying thank you. Then the shaking, action recorder-like screen seemed to have captured a very impactful scene. A rescued girl came out of the glass chamber, then lifted the mask of the SWAT who rescued her and kissed the SWAT passionately. Then the screen froze at this place. Our guards have rescued countless people on the underground front. The anchor continued. Then the screen began to play the rescued people, and these people began to say their gratitude to the screen, such as if it were not for the help of these SWAT heroes, they would not be able to survive. Then the style of the report suddenly changed again and began to enter a laboratory. The government has invested heavily in changing the state of war between vampires and humans, and cooperated with the Osborn Group to develop a purification serum. The ABC anchor continued to report diligently. After constantly overcoming difficulties, the serum that changed the situation of the war between humans and vampires appeared, the vampire virus was controlled, and the vampires began to turn around. Then the cooperation between the Osborn Group and government departments began to be reported extensively. Harry Osborn also appeared on the TV screen and began to talk about how his father Norman Osborn took on the burden entrusted by the government and organized all the people to start public relations technical problems. Until all the problems were solved and the purification serum was born. During this period, Janet also showed up and said that she was an excellent hematologist. Her inspiration and creativity gave the whole project a huge leap. Such reports now attracted the attention of the whole United States and even the world. Because at the same time, similar reports were being carried out almost all over the world, as if all mankind had joined hands to form a tight front at this moment. Finally, ABC broadcast the most important part of this news. His Excellency the President officially signed the 53rd Presidential Order of this year. Promoted the new bill Vampire Special Race Special Management Bill. The new bill stipulates that all fugitive vampires must go to the government-designated agency to inject purification serum before Christmas this year, and all former vampires must go to the local police station regularly for filing. The bill also has the following provisions. Before the news was finished, Nick Fury, who had been holding the remote control, was in no mood to watch it. This is his secret apartment in Long Island. Nick casually threw the remote control on the ground without caring whether it would break. He opened the refrigerator and took out a bottle of whiskey and took a sip of the strong liquor. In the Nightwalker base, the people who had been sitting in front of the TV had not made any sound. When the so-called lies to fallen soldiers appeared on the TV, Mike resisted the urge to punch the TV. "I'm going to practice shooting." He suppressed his anger and left here. After a while, everyone heard the deafening gunshots from the simple shooting range of the base. "Mindy, let's go. Show me your homework." Damon, who had never cared much about Mindy's study, took Mindy away when he saw the deleted vampire farm clip. When a group of rescued people thanked the government's special police on the screen, Zheng Chu and Peter both left, and before leaving, they drew a middle finger at the TV. Only Li Ji and Frank watched the entire report. Regarding the clip where Harry appeared on TV, Harry once asked Li Ji and Peter for their opinions on whether the Osborn Group should cooperate with the government to produce this short film together. After knowing the identities of Li Ji and Peter, he understood everything they had done. Vampires are real, and what they did is also real. He didn't want to hurt everyone's friendship because of this, but Li Ji still persuaded Harry to participate in the filming of this short film. Because whether Harry participated or not, this short film would be broadcast. In this case, it would be better to let Harry earn some capital for himself and build a good relationship with the government. Although because of Harry, Li Ji and Peter already knew what the government was going to do, but when the news really came out, they were still very uncomfortable. Especially the government deliberately described the vampire thing as a virus, and after being infected with this virus, there would be a bloodthirsty impulse. then deliberately ignored other characteristics to mislead the public. Especially the situation that the government attributed all the credit to itself is even more chilling. Everyone in the base was in a bad mood at this moment. Are you feeling bad? In addition to Lee Ji, the only person left was Frank, who was practicing fast loading and unloading magazines. If you feel unhappy, go to the fighting room and I will fight with you. Lee Ji took a deep breath and finally exhaled slowly. No, I'll cook for lunch. Are you interested in a whole leg of beef? Lee Ji has decided that he can't get angry at people for no reason now. In this case, he will buy a whole leg of beef to vent his anger. He has decided to chop the whole leg of beef into pieces. There will be 3 more chapters today. Please recommend, vote, and subscribe. Chapter 148. The mutants are getting more distressed. How about this leg of beef? This is top quality Australian beef, whole grain fed. In a meat shop, the waiter was trying hard to sell Lee Ji a leg of beef with beautiful lines. The whole leg of beef is expensive and quite heavy. However, there are many people in the base, and the appetites of several men are quite big, so they will not be left unfinished. Now the streets are full of news about vampires, including the TV in this meat shop, which has been adjusted to this news program by the boss. This makes Lee Ji feel a little complicated. On the one hand, exposing vampires is what he has always hoped for, but exposing them in such a way, and there are still many concealments, is not what he wants. After packing the whole leg of beef, Lee Ji decided to find a cafe to have a cup of coffee and a piece of cake to relax and relieve his mood. Thank you. He found a cafe and sat down, and ordered a cup of bitter coffee and a piece of tiramisu. But now even the cafes that are meant for relaxation are not quiet. The speakers and TVs that were originally playing light music suddenly started to interrupt the news, because other customers requested it. Lee Ji's mood became worse. He was going to leave soon, but the content in the news attracted him. This was not about vampires, but another discussion. Mr. Macaulay, what do you think about the new bill promoted by Congress? A famous NBC host asked the guest. This is progress. Our country has been making progress. Mr. Macaulay first began to praise Pharaoh. I think the government did the right thing in this matter. Because vampires are very dangerous, and they hide among ordinary people and are not easy to be found. The so-called expert Mr. Macaulay began his nonsense. Now that the government really has a weapon to deal with vampires, we can control this virus. He described the vampire thing as a virus, not a mysterious thing that ordinary people find difficult to understand. Because of this, ordinary people are more likely to accept it. I agree with the new vampire bill. This will effectively control those former vampires. Macaulay's words made the host nod frequently, and many customers in the coffee shop also agreed. Just like prisoners who have served their sentences in prison, if they have a tendency to commit crimes for a long time, or if they are released on bail, they need to report to the police station or their probation officer every week. This is to determine their recent behavior and whether they have a tendency to continue committing crimes. Vampires are a disease, and being infected is not necessarily the will of the people. The nonsense continued. It is very important to determine in this way that they have not continued to commit crimes because of their previous experiences. Macaulay took a sip of water after he finished speaking. Do you think the House of Representatives and Congress should strengthen the supervision code for special groups? The host seemed to be asking in-depth questions about this issue, but in fact the real drama has just begun. Yes, I think it is very necessary. Macaulay cleared his throat. Vampires used to be an irreversible disease. Now that it can be controlled, we should accept them as long as we have proper control. They are normal people and should not be discriminated against. Lee Ji was very disdainful of the serious nonsense, but he could not jump out and say anything, so he could only lower his head and eat the cake. I must say here that our country is making progress, but it is far from enough in some aspects. Macaulay said very seriously, and the host also followed up appropriately. Which aspect do you mean? It's about mutants. I believe most people understand that unlike vampires, which are a disease, mutants are more like monsters. Macaulay frowned and said with a look of disgust. Lee Ji stopped eating cake with his head down. This guy was no longer talking nonsense, but talking nonsense. Lee Ji felt very angry. Vampires and humans are the parties with irreconcilable contradictions, and mutants are more of a subspecies of normal humans. They use their abilities unscrupulously to persecute ordinary people, as well as mutant criminals. We all know that it is difficult for ordinary police to arrest mutant criminals. Macaulay said righteously, but what he said made Luigi feel sick. Most mutants cause destruction because they cannot control their abilities. This could have been controlled through training, but it is precisely because there are many people like Macaulay who are advocating similar remarks. This makes the situation of mutants more and more difficult, and many mutants are forced to embark on the road of crime. In this regard, there is the self-abandonment of mutants, and there is also excessive oppression from normal society. So I think our country should introduce a new bill. Something like the Vampire Act, so that we can regulate mutants. Macaulay's words attracted frequent approval from TV hosts. We should centralize the management of mutants, register their real information and detailed addresses, and the public should have the right to choose whether they are willing to be neighbors with mutants, or whether to send children to schools with mutants. Companies have the right to hire mutants. You have to know that mutants often make things complicated. Macaulay's words are already naked discrimination. But there is no way. Mutants have always been unwelcome in mainstream society. Luigi does not discriminate against mutants, because people's likes and dislikes have nothing to do with whether they are mutants. Good people are good people, and bad people are bad people. This is just like discussing whether guns are guilty, and you can never argue about right and wrong. So I hope the government should consider introducing a new bill to properly control mutants. Macaulay's final words. The public has the right to know more of the truth. They should not be deceived. This is people's freedom. Pa-pa-pa-pa. Scattered applause sounded in the cafe, and some people whispered in agreement with what Macaulay had just said. Luigi looked at the incited crowd around him and suddenly remembered a sentence. Freedom, how many crimes are committed in your name? Who is really deceiving everyone? Who is the one who hides the truth of society, and who is the real culprit who created this social contradiction? The promoted vampire bill has triggered a terrible chain reaction. The half-understood truth is more terrible than not knowing it at all. The guided emotions and public opinion will once again push the contradictions against mutants to the forefront, the changed stories, and the new laws being promoted. The wheel of history is rolling over unstoppably. Some people are advocating that all mutants should be driven to live in one place. All mutants should be marked, and mutants should not even appear in public places. When Poland was invaded by Germany, the government required all Jews to register and then wear the six-pointed star mark. After that, Jews were not allowed to sit on park benches, and then Jews were not allowed to appear in any public places. Then Jews were concentrated in groups, and finally the butcher knife was raised against them. Crazy people, when you are instigated by your ignorance, do you know that you will pay for the most terrible evil in the world? Luigi felt very uncomfortable and wanted to leave. He signaled the waitress to pay the bill, but the waitress seemed to be frightened and the girl was trembling. The butterfly's wings are flapping. What Luigi did changed the course of the world, but not all processes are necessarily good. Taking the Vampire Act as an example, the control of mutants will be put on the agenda, and social contradictions will become increasingly intensified. Not breaking out in silence is like dying in silence. Chapter 149 The Complexity of Human Nature. In the cafe, the discussion about mutants continued. Yes, those mutants are just a bunch of bastards. A man wearing a black winter coat and a baseball cap said fiercely. Last time I drove a truck past a restaurant, I met a little mutant bastard inside. He was actually working as a waiter there. I didn't tip him. Why should I tip a mutant? The man's language was very rude. Then I finished my meal and went out and found that my tire was flat. It goes without saying that it must be the damn bastard who did it. The man's inference was groundless, just because the other party was a mutant. So he blamed others for his flat tire. This unreasonable and domineering behavior was unacceptable. The man was cursing and talking, and there were several companions who echoed him. It seemed that they were all companions. From the conversation and action habits, they looked very much like a group of truck drivers. Originally, they just came to the cafe to drink a cup of hot coffee to kill time. But because of this news, the man seemed to be angry. You know, I hated mutants when I was little. There was a little mutant in school at the time. He always used his superpowers to cheat. I knew he couldn't be that smart. He must have cheated. This was naked jealousy. Okay, it's almost time for us to get started. One of his companions signaled the guy to stop talking. It was time to start preparing for work. Okay, how much is it? It seemed that the group was ready to pay the bill and leave. The man in the baseball cap was ready to pay. However, The waitress seemed a little stunned and did not collect the money immediately. "How much is it?" The man in the baseball cap was a little impatient. He reached out and wanted to pat the waitress on the shoulder, but his hand went straight through her body. "Damn it. What the hell are you doing?" The man in the baseball cap suddenly stepped back several steps, roaring angrily. He touched the hand that had just passed through the waitress, as if he was afraid of being infected by something. "What did you do to my body? You are a damn mutant." The man in the baseball cap had a bit of fear in his tone. "No, sorry, I didn't do anything." The waitress didn't look very old, probably a high school student, and looked like she was working part-time. "You're a mutant." The baseball cap man shouted again, picking up a round stool commonly seen at the bar and pointing at the girl. "I'm telling you, don't play tricks on me, I've seen a lot of people like you." Although the man said this, he didn't dare to step forward, as if he was afraid of something. "I'm sorry." The girl began to cry, with tears in her beautiful big eyes. "I'm really sorry, I didn't do anything." Enough. Li Ji's mood had fallen to the bottom. What a mess. Do these guys who advocate that mutants are a threat know how much conflict they are inciting? In addition to causing trouble for this society, they can't do anything serious. Li Ji can't stand these guys anymore. This girl is just an ordinary student working part-time, and she is scared. It is normal for mutants to be in a state of self-protection when they are frightened, and the girl's ability does not seem to be destructive. However, due to the propaganda and publicity on TV news, these mutants who can integrate into the lives of normal people have begun to be unpopular. Li Ji directly stood in front of the girl with the cow egg that he had just bought, which weighed more than 20 kilograms, and used the cow egg to directly push away the round stool that the man pointed at the girl. Because the man looked like he wanted to attack the girl was almost scared to tears. "She is just an ordinary girl, and I didn't see her do anything bad to you." Li Ji was very strong, and the man was almost knocked down by him using the cow leg. "He is a mutant." The man continued to emphasize this point, as if this was the most terrible original sin. "But now she is just a child who was scared by you." Li Ji stood in front of the man and said seriously, "Don't be misled by those guys. Please use your brain." Li Ji pointed at Bengali, who was still talking nonsense on TV. What this kind of person did was meaningless and would only increase negative energy. Seeing Li Ji's aggressive look, the man's other companions advised him to forget it. Finally, he struggled for a while, and finally left $20 to pay for the coffee for several people, and left without asking for change. "Are you okay?" Li Ji asked the girl. She was really scared. "No, thank you. I was a little scared just now." The girl calmed down her mood and thanked Li Ji. "Katie, come here." Just as the girl thanked Li Ji, a man who looked like the store manager called the waitress named Katie over. It seemed that they were talking about something, and Katie seemed to be begging for something, but the store owner still shook his head. In the end, Katie could only helplessly take off an apron representing the waitress of this store. "What's wrong?" Li Ji frowned and asked Katie, who was walking towards him. "Nothing, just lost a job." Katie smiled, but seemed helpless. Then she nodded to Li Ji and walked out of the cafe. What Li Ji feared happened. As a very normal mutant whose ability was not mainly destructive, he lost his job. What about other mutants? Li Ji remembered that when he watched the movie, some mutants had very obvious characteristics. People could find them just by paying attention. Will these people be oppressed more? Then they will explode under the severe oppression? You know, this is not impossible. That sentence, where there is oppression, there is resistance. It is not an empty talk. Li Ji paid the bill and walked out of the cafe. He saw the waitress Katie squatting on the roadside, sobbing softly, holding her head with both hands, but her shoulders were shaking constantly, which was the performance of a person sobbing. "If you don't mind, I can take you home. My car is parked at the intersection." Li Ji squatted down and said to Katie. Katie's home is also in Queens, but it doesn't look like her own house, but rented in an apartment building. Li Ji drove a second-hand Ford sedan and took Katie back to her home in 15 minutes. "Thank you for today, otherwise that man might hurt me." Katie thanked Li Ji again before getting out of the car. "You're welcome, because you didn't do anything wrong, he just scared you." Li Ji shook his head and replied. Katie smiled. Her smile was much better than the bitter smile before. She pulled out a small notebook and a pen from her pocket, and tore off a piece of paper and wrote down her phone number on it. "This is my phone number. I mean, if you are willing to make friends with a mutant. Li Ji took the piece of paper from Katie without letting her finish her words. Of course, believe me, many of my friends are much weirder than you. Well, Li Ji was telling the truth. Thank you. Katie smiled, got out of the car, waved to Li Ji and ran upstairs. Li Ji drove away slowly. He had to go back to make lunch for the people in the base. The radio in the radio station was also playing the news he didn't want to hear. Li Ji simply turned off the radio and drove quietly. He didn't know whether Katie's situation today was accidental or something that all mutants would encounter. Li Ji couldn't guarantee that everyone could look at the mutant issue equally like him, such as the baseball cap man he met today. He had another attitude towards mutants, and it was very complicated. It contained discrimination, fear and a hint of envy. Although he was clamoring to teach Katie a lesson, he never dared to do it. He was afraid. He also talked about the mutants he met in his childhood. He envied and was jealous of others' abilities or excellence. Do most people have such complex and mixed emotions? Li Ji's Ford car drove very slowly. Because the traffic in New York was very congested, just like the various problems hidden under this society. All the problems were blocked. No one, or no good way to solve these problems, and the problems that could not be vented were like this rolling traffic. Forced to be stuck on the road, slowing down the development of the entire society. Katie was very happy today. Although she lost her part-time job, she gained a friend who did not discriminate against her after knowing her identity. Dad, Mom, I'm back. She pushed open the door of her home excitedly, which was different from her mother's hug when she returned home. Today, her parents sat quietly on the sofa. When they heard the news of her return, they just turned their heads and looked at her. Opposite her parents, there were two strangers. An old man sitting in a wheelchair, and a beautiful young woman with red hair. Hello, I think you must be Katie. I would like to talk to you, okay? The old man in the wheelchair smiled kindly. Chapter 150 Adjusting Mood in Female Painter. No matter how absurd this world is, life must go on. Everyone must have a way to adjust their mood. Some people go to play ball, and some people go to play games. Li Ji's way is to go out and drive a fast food truck to cook, and use other things to divert his attention, so as not to let his mood continue to be at a bad point. Now the establishment of the new company is still going through the process, and all the legal issues in this part have been handed over to Matt to solve. And after coordination, Matt also agreed to contribute his Daredevil copyright. Although Daredevil is not very famous now, sometimes you will be ahead of others if you are one step ahead in business. And after some private communication, Iron Fist, White Tiger and Luke Cage have contributed their copyrights. This means that the new company has not yet started to operate officially. There are already a group of real heroes under its umbrella. Of course, in order to solve possible problems, Li Ji has registered the copyrights of these heroes before the company is fully established. After all, it is not uncommon to register trademarks or company names in this world. Li Ji still remembers Lenovo Group in his previous life because it did not register its own English trademark. Later, foreign companies registered the trademark, which forced Lenovo Group to pay a high fee to continue using its original trademark name. Then Lenovo Group's global name change campaign emerged. Although the locusts who registered the trademark did not benefit from this incident, they did not lose much either. Instead, Lenovo lost a lot of money because of the global name change. As for the name of the new company, Li Ji has already thought of Marvel. Well, this is not called plagiarism, this is called tribute, you know. Anyway, plagiarists all over the world say so. For example, the plot in my XX movie is not plagiarizing a classic movie, I am paying tribute to the classic movie. Anyway, people who say this never blush. At least the heroes under this Marvel company are similar to the original ones. At most there is a strange guy called Nightwalker. Now Li Ji's food truck has almost become an urban legend in New York City. Many food blogs that specialize in reviewing B-level food or a food recommendation magazine have recommended Li Ji's food truck. The number of comments and praises is almost one-sided. Even on a website that specializes in introducing national food trucks, Li Ji's food truck even has a special edition. Many people left comments and forwarded the post, but since Li started school, Li Ji's food truck was not set up regularly, so many people missed the chance to see it. This unintentional hunger marketing made many food lovers of food trucks grow a desire to try it. Others said it was so delicious, but they had never eaten it, which made many people interested in Li Ji's food truck. Lee Ji even installed a special app on his phone, and when he set up the stall, he would publish his location and business hours on the website. Now, as long as Lee Ji announced the time and location of his stall, a group of loyal fans and food lovers would gather and wait in advance. On many food websites, they began to report and introduce this magical food truck. Some websites even expressed their intention to interview Lee Ji. However, because Lee Ji was always busy every time the food truck was set up, he had refused many interviews. In terms of popularity, Lee Ji's popularity as a chef is far higher than his popularity as a superhero. When Lee Ji's food truck arrived at the location where he was ready to set up the stall on time, there were already about 100 diners gathered here waiting. When Lee Ji's fast food truck slowly drove in, the crowd burst into huge applause, and some people cheered and whistled. This treatment is like a star. Wow, do you have so many fans every time you go out? This time, even Harry came to help, because the work of Osborne Group was too tedious. He wanted to use other ways to ease the pressure, so he and Peter came to help Lee Ji in the kitchen. It was also an interesting experience for him to experience a job he had never tried before. Yes, do you know my appeal now? Lee Ji did not show any modesty, but smiled and accepted this sentence, because he had absolute confidence in his cooking skills. When the fast food truck started business, Harry was responsible for collecting money and making change, while Peter was still there to chop onions and tear lettuce. Peter's eyes were chopped with tears again. Oh, damn it. Didn't you promise me that you wouldn't let me chop onions next time? Peter said with tears in his eyes. His tone was very complaining. Ha ha ha, Peter, look at what you look like now. Oh my god, did your lollipop get taken away by your bad uncle? Harry laughed heartlessly, because Peter's face was distorted and his eyes were red and he was crying. Damn it, Harry, you should come and cut so many onions to try. Why are these onions more choking than the original ones? Peter's eyes could hardly open. Because I tried to change to a more flavorful variety. Lee Ji was frying hamburgers and toasting bread, and answered without turning his head. I think your original recipe is very good, there is no need to change this kind of onion. Oh my god, I can't stop crying. Peter's face was already wet with his own tears. Hey Jason, oh Peter, why are you crying so sadly? The person who came was Gwen. Today, she rarely encountered the situation that the company did not need to go to work and the school was also on holiday. She knew that Peter and Lee Ji returned to the location near her home today to open a fast food truck, so she brought a friend here. Because this friend wanted to try the food provided by Lee Ji's fast food truck a long time ago, especially after Gwen kept praising it. But what Gwen saw at the scene almost made her laugh out loud. Peter's eyes were full of tears, and his facial features were all twisted together. Oh, because Peter volunteered to help me cut onions, so that's it. Lee Ji directly put the blame on Peter. Hey, it was obviously you who asked me to do this. Peter retorted with tears. I think you should wipe your tears first. Gwen held back her laughter and found a pack of tissues and handed it to Peter. Jason, this is Ivy, the classmate I mentioned to you. Gwen introduced the girl next to her. She is a very famous food blogger on the internet. Ivy has a neat short hair and is dressed very refreshingly. She looks like a neat and tidy girl. Oh, welcome. Lee Ji smiled. So what do you want? A special burger, thank you. Ivy ordered a burger that was highly recommended on the internet. By the way, I forgot to say that Ivy is also a well-known painter on the internet. After ordering, Gwen took a drink from Peter and said after taking a sip. Wow, this is really versatile. Lee Ji was a little interested, because the new company will definitely hire many painters in the future. Gwen, I may not have told you that we are planning to set up a new company recently. The initial goal is to promote comics, so is your companion Miss Ivy interested? Gwen raised one eyebrow and said, Are you sure you want Ivy to work in the new comic company you are planning to open? Are there any problems? Lee Ji asked in confusion. Gwen and Ivy looked at each other, and there was an indescribable taste in their eyes, as if there was some secret between the two. This surprised Lee Ji and Peter. No, of course there is no problem. I can guarantee that Ivy will be your best painter, for sure. After saying that, Gwen laughed. And Ivy also laughed, and the two beautiful girls laughed and hugged each other. Then the two hugged each other and whispered, and I don't know what they were talking about. After that, they laughed even louder. What's going on? Is it strange to ask a female painter to draw comics? Lee Ji is now full of question marks. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.